Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Happy Friday and welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. We got a banger for you today, folks. Connor Hellebuyck is the National Hockey League's MVP for the 24-25 season, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are still the Bombers. What a game last night in front of a sold-out crowd at Princess Auto Stadium to kick off the season for the Blue and Gold with a thumping of Nathan Rourke and the British Columbia Lions last night. We're going to get into all of it. Jeff Hamilton's going to come on. We'll chop up the big win last night for the Blue and Gold. And Wiebe, Ken Wiebe, is going to jump on. We'll talk about just the incredible season that Hellebuyck had, the significance of a Winnipeg Jet winning the Hart Trophy for the first time. And we'll certainly get Ken's thoughts on another incredible hockey game last night in the Stanley Cup Final, which is now tied at 2 after a history-making comeback by the Edmonton Oilers last night. Leon Draisaitl scoring in OT. And we got a series, folks, 2-2, heading back to Alberta for Game 5 tomorrow night at Rogers Arena in Edmonton. Hacksaw is going to jump on a little later on. We'll keep you up to date on the carnage at Oakmont and what's happening in the U.S. Open. And then, of course, we'll kick off the weekend with a marble race, so stick around. Welcome to everybody on YouTube. Shout out to all you podcast listeners. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, folks, and let's get after it. Just before I bring in Michael Remis, huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, and Ben Moss, St. Vital Dental Center, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Rollies Transfer, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, and Royal Sports, the Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and we'll do some fan feedback on last night's big game for our friends at fansfirst.ca. Let's get after it. Michael Remis, what is up? How about that last night?
I'm feeling good. What a great night for sports. First, you had the NHL awards show hosted by Isaiah Mustafa, where they showed all the videos. And
is that the Old Spice guy?
Yeah, the Old Spice guy. Yeah, he was on HNL. He was a Ducks fan.
That's right.
He was hosting it. And I thought it was nicely done. I liked the videos of them surprising everyone. And we finally saw the big reveal. Hellebuyck getting surprised, coming off the boat with the not one. And then Eric Comrie comes out and says, Where's the other trophy? It was very well done.
Getting Comrie involved in that was so cool.
Yes, 100% there. And then, we had the Bomber game as well, which I biked to for the first time. I had a great experience doing that. And while keeping track of the Stanley Cup Final, where you thought, oh, man, Florida's going to go up 3-1. This sucks, to an epic comeback from Edmonton and overtime win. So, great night. I'm in a great mood today. Weather is nice and a good Father's Day weekend kind of. Shout out to all the dads. And, we have the Sea Bears Father's Day game. They just opened the Upper Bowl, I saw. So, very exciting time here.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to all the dads. I got to shout out my dad. It was his birthday on Wednesday. And, of course, Father's Day coming up on Sunday. So, big shout out to one of our biggest fans. I'm sure my mom's listening too. So, shout out to her. Yeah, like, listen, it's funny you mentioned the hockey game because, you know, it was such a gorgeous night, and you got down to the stadium, sit down, kind of locked in on the Bomber game, and I didn't actually check my phone until, well, probably into the second quarter of the football game. I kind of forgot that the hockey game started earlier, so I didn't even look at my phone until it was 3-1 in the hockey game. No, then I look and go, oh my God, Florida, 3-0. And then got a couple texts. The game's tied. Oilers are up. Florida ties it up with 19 seconds left. I thought we might be able to sneak back and get overtime, but Leon Draisaitl ended it. So it was interesting following that. I did watch the abbreviated version of the hockey game later on, but I think for most of us in Winnipeg, we were locked in on that game last night, Remis, and I mean, what can you say about the performance of Chris Streer? Strev looked as good as he has at any point, I dare say, in his career as far as playing quarterback. I mean, this wasn't a battering ram. This wasn't 15 carries from Chris Streveler. This was a well-balanced offense that established the run, and the quarterback made them pay through the air. He had a game where, honestly, they didn't miss a beat from what they normally have with their number one quarterback in. And I think that's just a huge credit to Streveler, who certainly was one of the stars of the game. But when you have a performance like that by the Bombers top to bottom against a quality opponent like BC, there's far more than one hero. But it's pretty hard not to start with Strev and what he was able to do in the absence of Zach Collaros.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of concerns about Streveler and his ability to throw the ball. Last game he started against Ottawa, they ran it 11 times. Last night, they only ran it 2 times with him, and concerns, is he able to throw the deep ball? And he's hitting Carrick Wheatfall and Nick Dembski. They're picking up big plays, and I don't know if you thought, Chris Streveler was able to do that, and he threw for 3 touchdowns, 246 yards, protected the ball as well, did have 1 interception. And in a game where you don't have your starting quarterback, Zach Collaros, and Brady Oliveira gets injured after 2 carries, and you're bringing in Matthew Peterson, who's never played a pro game before. This was against Nathan Rourke, who just lit up Edmonton, and the Bombers' defense made him look very pedestrian early on. You knew they were going to have a push, but the Bombers were able to survive it. Some key turnovers, interception, fumble recovery, nice kicking from Sergio Castillo. Just all around a great game and a great start to the season on a amazing night. A sold-out crowd, Princess Auto Stadium. It was fantastic.
Yeah, listen, we'll talk more about Strev, and we'll get into it with Hammer when he joins us, but the Matthew Peterson story is just, it couldn't be cooler. Now, you will recall, folks, that Josh Frey-Sam, I'm going to give Josh some big-time credit here. Josh came on the program, I don't know, what was it, a week and a half into training camp? And we're sort of, it's early. We're kind of asking these early training camp questions. All right, who's sort of stood out? Who's been looking good? Who's a name that people don't know? And Josh immediately went to Matthew Peterson and said a couple things that I actually raised my eyebrows. This guy is incredible talent. He'll be a great backup for Brady. And to the point that, if at a certain point, like always happens in professional football, someone gets too expensive or, loses a step, they've got that succession plan. And I'm like, dude, this is like, we're a week into camp. How can we be having this conversation? Well, we saw it last night. Josh was onto something. This kid is an absolute stud, and credit to the Bombers for identifying that and making a deal to get him in, Remo. This was the trade from right before the draft with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Ticats sent Peterson, the 2nd overall pick in the global draft, and the 39th overall pick in the CFL draft to the Bombers in exchange for Canadian defensive lineman Kyle Sampson, the 8th overall pick in the global draft, and the 36th overall pick in the CFL draft. A very interesting trade where you have 2 players, 2 global draft picks, and 2 CFL draft picks exchanging hands. I don't think anyone could have imagined Peterson making as big of an impact so quickly into his young CFL career. But if we know one thing about pro football, injuries happen, and when they do, opportunities arise. And holy smokes, did this young man make an impression in his first game as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber.
Yeah, you thought they were going to be in trouble without the MOP. You knew it was going to be very run-heavy with Streveler at quarterback. Would have never guessed Matthew Peterson would be the guy. 23 carries, 130 yards. He had a nice long touchdown. 38 yards was his longest carry. And even Brady was running well, too. 2 carries. He had 1 run, 43 yards. And it was the longest run of his career, actually. So Peterson comes in. You have the run game. You have the passing. I thought Carrick Wheatfall looked really strong. Jareth Stearns, newcomer, had 1 catch. So, I mean, well done. A nicely called game. Jason Hogan, we were wondering what type of game he was going to call and would have never guessed. Like, if you would have set the over-under on Strevler carries coming into the game, I would probably be like, what, 5 or something? I don't know.
I would have thought it would have been like 7.5 or 8.5 or something like that.
For him to only carry the ball twice for 9 yards.
What if I told you that Brady Oliveira was going to go out after 2 carries?
Yeah.
That number would have gone up even more.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It was just a game where you didn't know if Strevler was able to have this type of performance, and he was awesome, and the Bombers all around, they won that game, and it was, was it John Hodge who asked this? No, it was Josh asked him, 18-1 off a bye, Coach O'Shea with the Bombers since 2017. A bit of a weird situation there.
Those are Andy Reid numbers.
Yeah, like that. That's a crazy number. And
2 of the all-time greats in both leagues.
In both leagues. So, well done picking up where they left off, and we'll get to see a rematch next Saturday in BC. So,
what a crazy schedule, by the way. Like, the fact that these 2 teams, who could absolutely end up playing in the West Final, are going to be done their season series in week 3 of the year.
Is that it?
That's it.
They only play twice?
They only play twice. And here's the other thing that's crazy, is that, obviously Sergio clanked that convert and missed a field goal. And long snapper Mike Benson's out. And we'll see how problematic that is or how long he's going to be out for. But for BC to win, like, this game next week is really important for a couple reasons. I mean, head-to-head, divisional game, all that. But the season series will be determined on point differential if BC wins. So for the Bombers to win comfortably by 2 touchdowns last night, it does give them a little bit of cushion in the head-to-head matchup if they do go to points. Although Winnipeg will be looking to do a similar job on the BC Lions next week. And listen, there's concern about Brady Oliveira and his status moving forward and how long he'll be out. Similar concerns on the other side of the field, Remo, because in those final drives of the football game, it wasn't 12 behind center for BC. It was 11. Jeremiah Masoli coming in. And, rewatching the game back in the fourth quarter afterwards last night, you could tell he was bothered. It seemed like an oblique or something like that. But that's bad news for the BC Lions if Nathan Rourke is not available to go. And as I say, these 2 teams are going to know each other very well next week because a rematch is on deck in BC in week 3.
Yeah, I actually had a pretty good view. I was right behind the Lions bench, and Rourke took a hit, went down and grabbed his side immediately. He went to the sideline and did some practice throws. Wasn't really putting a lot of zip on the ball. They brought out the tent, and he went in there, so you can really see what they were working on. And yeah, the Masoli went in. So big injury for them. Obviously, Nathan Rourke at quarterback, how good he can be. But we mentioned yesterday his record against the Bombers, 0-4. And I said his average yards against the Bombers this year was like 247 or something. I have to double check the actual number. But he had 249 yards yesterday. So that's what he's been. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Had a couple nice carries, including a 36-yarder. Did have a nice carry into the end zone for a touchdown. But the Bombers' defense looking pretty good. And one guy all over the field, Tony Jones, leading the team in tackles. We talked all last year what a great signing he was. He stepped in nicely. And Marquise Bridges at defensive back, 2 interceptions. Again, Tyrell Ford, that's a guy we said, the Bombers are missing him. But the people that they've brought in seem to be picking up where they left off. And, hey, I talked to Derek Taylor on Monday saying this Bombers team is better than last year. And I was like, whoa. And maybe he's right.
Hey, DT was onto something. Anyone that was riding with the Bombers yesterday feels pretty good about it. I was talking about this to Iwanek on the Lock Shop. I mean, I think it was DT and maybe Christian O'Mell afterwards speaking about the game, that this was only the 3rd time in the O'Shea era that the Bombers had been a home underdog. And, we know what the Bombers have done as underdogs. We also know what they've done to BC and Nathan Rourke. Rourke now, who is 0-5 career against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers after the loss last night. And, we'll dive into more about the defensive performance overall. I thought they started off and really did set the tone. As much as the Bombers with that first drive and the run by Brady Oliveira and all that, it was an incredible way to start it on the offensive side of the football. Nathan Rourke at one point was 1 for 10 in the football game with an interception. And listen, that defensive unit from top to bottom deserves so much credit. The guys in the secondary held up pretty well for most of the game. The front four made life miserable for Nathan Rourke. And they didn't get him for many sacks, but he did not have a lot of time to throw the football. He was rushed a lot. And you mentioned those guys in the middle. I thought Tony Jones was huge today in that last one. Terrell Bonds, Retta Cranby had a big game. It could not have started off much better for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they look to make it 6 straight trips to the Grey Cup this year with the Grey Cup here at Princess Auto Stadium. Listen, we're going to hear from Coach O'Shea and Chris Streer in just a minute. Let me shout out our friends at Rolly's Transfer, though, folks. If you got a move coming up this summer or in the future, lean on the most trusted name in moving in Winnipeg and Manitoba for over 60 years, Rolly's Transfer. Head on over to their website at rollys.com. Click on Request an Estimate and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when you are planning on moving, where you're moving to, and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly, get your a great quote, and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Rolly's customers expect and have expected and continue to get now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, Rolly's Transfer, Rollys.com, great supporters of WST. Tell them the boys here sent you over. All smiles for Winnipeg sports fans today, and all smiles at St. Vital Dental Center. If you need to get a little bit of work on the grill, hit up our pal Dr. Terry and his great staff at 167 St. Anne's in their beautiful new facility with convenient free parking right in the background, state-of-the-art equipment, and full dental services for customers from 6 months to 99 plus. Everything from cleanings and checkups to bigger operations like dental implants. You can find out more on everything St. Vital Dental Center can do for you at stvitaldental.ca. Make an appointment, pop in, and if you're lucky, you'll get a Friday afternoon appointment, and you can enter the marble race while Dr. Terry works on your teeth. Hey, the weekend is here, summer weekend. Great weekend to pop into your local Manitoba liquor marts and grab that new Canadian Club pack with the Canadian Club and Ginger Ale, the Citrus Smash, and the Half and Half. Saw some of those at the game last night. And, of course, is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Plenty of the original Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club being enjoyed in the North End and throughout Princess Auto Stadium last night. Check out the Club Pack today and all the Canadian Club line of products at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And what a start for the Bombers. They did not need an extra battery, but you might this weekend as you head out to the lake, getting on a boat, a quad, a camper. Listen, for all these things, you need a great battery to power you through the summer. Manitoba Battery is your local option with the best selection of batteries in town and the lowest prices, period. So stop wasting time and money at the big box stores. Shop local with Manitoba Battery. Save up to $50 a battery for boat and camper batteries right now. And the best thing about it is incredible service you'll get from Donnie and the gang. They'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. For all your battery needs, 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive in the South End. Simply give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. All right, Hammer's going to join us in a few minutes, but let's hear from Coach O'Shea. He spoke about his Warrior quarterback, Chris Streer, who had one of the games of his career last night. Here's Osh on 17.
It's exciting because we all, played it. The guys all played pretty well, and but I think he expects that, right? And we expect that out of them, right? Still fun and nice. Like the excitement is about how much fun they're having on the field. I don't know that the excitement's like, wow, I did it or anything like that. He expects that out of himself, and so do we. So it's good. It's still good.
There's Coach O'Shea, very pleased with the performance of his team and his quarterback. Listen, the guy that everyone was talking about in the stadium last night was Matthew Peterson, who got his first live reps in this Canadian Football League and make the most of it. Here's what O'Shea had to say about Peterson and his breakout game in the absence of an injured Brady Oliveira.
Really good as well. I think that's a good indicator of our O-line play too, right? It always is when you can run the ball like that, but I thought he made some nice cuts. Obviously finished off a big long run in the end zone, so very pleasing for him. We had a lot of young guys step up and play well, and it's not without, some plays they'd like to have back, but that's every football game. So really pleased for a bunch of those young guys that got a taste of it and tasted victory too.
All right, Coach O'Shea. Now listen, let's talk a little bit more about Peterson. 5-year starter or 5-year member of the Alberta Golden Bears team. He was acquired from Hamilton in that trade in just before the draft and the global draft. And he did turn some heads. We mentioned, our visit with Josh Frey-Sam, who singled Peterson out as a guy that really was stepping up in training camp. Here's what O'Shea had to say about what he saw in Peterson in camp leading up to this breakout game last night.
If you look back at his university career, he wasn't just good, he was exceptional, right? So that's just got to, at some point, through coaching, through whatever, I'm sure he believed he could make the jump to the next step. I don't know that he believed it would be easy or anything like that, but he knew it was going to be work. And once again, coaching staff does a really good job of getting them prepared. And, as young guys, I would say for the most part, the guys that are here are just really dialed into learning and trying to be better on a daily basis, right? And he's one of them. He's very conscientious, extremely conscientious. So, but he was exceptional in university. So just, he got an opportunity. It's pro sport. There's a lot of guys not playing that just didn't quite get the opportunity that they needed, right? And he got one.
Peterson certainly made the most of that opportunity last night. Now, listen, you don't put up those sort of numbers offensively, running the football on your own. It all starts with the offensive line, and what a game the Bomber line had. Here's what O'Shea had to say about the big boys up front.
A good mix of young guys and veterans that lead, a coach that is at the top of the game, and some nice play calls too, right? Just the way it worked. I thought they dialed it up pretty good, but certainly have to look at it a little more closely. But I'm sure we wanted to be a physical team, and I think we did that.
Now, listen, it was a strange start to the season, of course. All other 8 teams playing last week. Bombers on the week 1 bye. But they were ready to go. They were ready to go. O'Shea was asked about the fast start and if it was, a little to do with the fact that they had to wait a little longer or maybe a different approach in training camp. Here's what the head coach had to say on that.
We had a much different camp.
How so?
Just the guys were tuned in more. I don't know. I think we pushed them pretty good.
And clearly they responded.
I don't know that they responded. I think it's the idea that we put the work in, and it shows. I don't know that it's an emotional response. I just think it's the amount of quality work that they put in. I think the easy thing to understand is, it's not always, but to give yourself a chance, if you work hard, you focus, you don't put the time in, you freaking give it everything you got, then you have chance to win. You have a chance to win, right? I don't, like I said, I don't know that there's a response. I think it's just good practice could result in good games.
All right, so there's a very pleased Coach O'Shea after the big win last night for his Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Chris Streer, one of the stars of the game, though, and certainly one of the most popular players we've seen in Winnipeg in a long time. Hasn't had a lot of chances to really air it out the way he did last night, but he was all smiles afterwards. Here's what the starter last night had to say about his team's big win.
Yeah, it's just kind of an emotional day for me personally, thinking about what it took to get back here, with the rehab and the injury and, having my daughter here for her first game. I don't know why. That was just hitting hard for me. And so, having those emotions and then being able to lock in and focus and just being out there with guys that I love to play with, playing three-phase football, everybody making their plays. What a way to start the season.
And you lose, okay, you're already, playing without Zach, then you lose Brady. How do you overcome that?
Just guys leaning on each other and making their plays. Matt stepping up, having a great game. Guys making plays when the ball comes their way. And the great thing is there's still improvements to be made. So, just everyone stepping up when their number's called, playing their game. And, just so happy for all those guys.
Now, listen, it was easy to kind of forget about how Streveler's season ended last year in what was a gruesome knee injury that many thought could prevent him potentially from continuing his career. Nobody told Streveler that. And I still remember him running around the field in BC in the walkthrough before the Grey Cup going, how is this guy able to do that right now? It truly was a stunning recovery. Obviously, a lot of work went into that. Streveler talked about the journey back from the knee injury to have that kind of performance for his team in week 1 of the season.
I felt like I had a great training camp and, aside from the emotions today leading into the game and just thinking about my journey leading up to this point, I'm not thinking about the knee anymore. And that's exactly where you need to be playing football professionally. So it's not something I'm thinking about, but to be able to kind of reflect back on what it's taken to get to this point and reach out to some of the people that have helped me get back and show those people the gratitude, it's just about being present and making the most of your opportunities, and that's what I try to do. And I'm just so thankful for this opportunity, like I said earlier in the week, and just excited to build on this with the guys.
Gotta love the Strev energy, all the time, but especially after a big win. He silenced a lot of doubters last night. Here's what he had to say about that.
I just don't even pay attention to that, man. People are always going to say what they want to say, and it's just not something that I pay attention to. I care about what the people in that room think about me, and that's the way I try to play the game, to honor them. I don't care how many yards I pass for. I don't care about any of that. I just care about winning football games. And so, people are always going to have things to say, and I just don't even think about that.
All right, block out the noise, says Chris Streveler. Listen, he was phenomenal. The entire Bomber offense, the team was great, but this was also the first game under new OC Jason Hogan. And I think it was maybe surprising the amount of passing that they did, considering the way they were running the football and the fact that Zach wasn't in there. Here's what Strev had to say about the confidence from the OC and the game plan from Jason Hogan.
I thought he called a great game, man, and just really just proud of him. And just first time calling a game, man. And he called some big time plays. And, I'm appreciative of the opportunities that he gave me to make some plays in there. And the way that he was able to help, put guys in position to be successful and distribute the ball. I thought he did a tremendous job, and just a great guy, and just so happy for him and excited to build on this, right? Hopefully it's only going to get better from here, and we're going to keep learning about each other, and this team's going to keep building, and we'll keep getting better.
One more from Strev coming out of last night's game. And Remo and I kind of touched on this. Maybe the most surprising statistic, especially with the loss of Brady Oliveira, was the fact that Streveler only ran the football twice. This was a far more normal game by a quarterback than maybe we've seen with the game plans that Streveler's been provided in the past. Here's what he had to say about the running game and the fact that he only carried the ball 2 times.
Again, it's just how the game goes. I'm okay with that. 2 carries, 20 carries. Done it both ways. So it doesn't matter. All that matters is that scoreboard.
BC is probably one of the teams with designs on taking over first in the West. What does tonight say about that? Anything?
Says we're 1 game into the season. I just, you asked about the Grey Cup the other day. Yeah, it's just like we got to take it 1 game at a time. 1 game at a time. 1 day at a time. That's the thought process. And again, you talk about being present. what can I do today to get better? What can I do tomorrow to get better? That's the thought process. You put one foot in front of the other, and you're going to like the destination that you end up. But you just can't get ahead of yourself. Thank you, guys.
All right, there's your winning quarterback last night, Chris Streer. Credit to the Bomber social content team. If you go over to, I believe, their feed or maybe their site, there's a great mic'd up moment of Streer talking to his teammates, I believe, before the game. And you can understand why he is such an incredibly popular teammate and a guy that can bring out the best in many of the guys that he's going out there to war with. Great win. Jeff Hamilton's going to come and join us in just a couple of minutes. I guess while we wait for Jeff, I mean, Princess Auto Stadium was rocking last night. Another sellout. Well done, Blue Bomber fans. And honestly, for my money, I mean, there is no better place in the Canadian Football League to watch a game, especially when the fans of the Bombers are showing up the way they have been and continue to do. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers and Winnipeg Sports Talk, and a huge part of Winnipeg, headquartered here in the Peg, founded here in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast, but with 3 locations to serve you, where you'll find the best deals and the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete those projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. Panet Road and Portage Avenue West in the city. For those of you out in the west part of the province, you can visit them in-store in Brandon. And, of course, you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Well, the Bombers were on their bye week last week. When you're on your bye week this summer looking to get away, if you love fishing and love great times and amazing hospitality, you should maybe want to check out Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. I'm going to be there in a few weeks. We'll definitely fire out some pics, but Aikens Lake, world-class flying fishing lodge where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, including a short flight, with world-class fishing. And I've been seeing some of the monsters that have been pulled out of the lake. I'm even more excited to get out there ASAP. But incredible hospitality, too. Maybe even better than the world-class fishing. Listen, go to aikenslake.com to find out more information on options and availability for the 2025 fishing season. And follow them on your social channels at Aikens Lake to find out more about the Aikens experience. And before we bring in Jeff, fellas, we're into wedding season right now. If you're looking into the closet and realize, oh, man, I got to up my menswear game, get on down to F Apparel ASAP. Custom suits starting at just $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories around. If you are having a wedding or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas about a special discount for the wedding party when you get your suits at F. 190 Smith Street downtown. Find out more online or make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right, we're going to bring in Jeff Hamilton and talk about last night's big Bomber win. Right now. This segment is brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good this truck looks? Everywhere it goes, the Toyota Tundra is turning heads. Tundra available now from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.39% APR with $71.99 down. Hybrid options available as well. Find out more and visit shoptoyota.ca. All right, it's hammer time. Let's bring in Jeff. What a night last night at Princess Auto Stadium, and what a statement for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, reminding everyone that the West still goes through the Peg. How are you?
Hustler, I'm doing well, my friend. What a game indeed it was. And another example of my bad picking for CFL picks, because I did, you in fact went with the blue and gold, I believe. I thought the task was a little bit too tall for the Blue Bombers. Obviously, coming up against Nathan Rourke, and what an impressive first week he had put forward in a win against Edmonton that included a slow start in the first half, but then 4 straight touchdown drives in the second half for a convincing victory. That Nathan Rourke was nowhere to be seen. Mind you, he did finish with, I think, over 250 passing yards, 3 more than Chris Streveler. But he wasn't the guy that we saw in week 1, and certainly was nothing near the player he was in 2022 that everybody seemed to think he'd return to in week 1. So the Bombers defense, this is the thing about the game, Huss, for me. I don't even think you've asked me a question yet, but I'm getting into it right away just because. It wasn't so much that the Bombers were going to lose this game. Because, even though a lot of people thought the BC Lions, they were obviously favorites in the odds, it wasn't so much that it was impossible that Winnipeg was going to win the game. It was just, I don't think anybody predicted they would do so in the fashion that they did win this game. And what I look at, the one stat I look at majorly in this game is Chris Streveler rushed twice for what was it, 11 yards or 9 yards in total. So it wasn't a game where the defense needed to be the stars of the show. Mind you, Huss, they definitely pulled their weight in this one. But everyone thought it was going to be a defensive effort. And if Chris Streveler could just survive, that maybe, just maybe, this team could carve out a victory.
I mean, there's so many areas that, you could kind of single out or start with as sort of setting the tone. But to me, it was a complete team performance right out of the gate. Totally. An incredible first drive by the offense and a defensive performance that, I mean, at a certain point, Rourke, especially down, is going to get his, and he did. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you go out there and limit him to 1 completion in his first 10 attempts and a pick. I mean... And it was the secondary, it was the linebacking core, and, the sack numbers weren't huge, but man, did the defensive line do a great job at not giving Nathan Rourke time ever to really get comfortable at all in the pocket.
Yeah, you know what? I almost kind of put my foot in my mouth in the first half, Huss, because I don't know. I was obviously looking at the stats as I'm watching this game in the press box, and Nathan Rourke has 11 total passing yards nearing the end of the second quarter, heading into the half. He's got a minus 30-something QB rating, and I'm just, I'm thinking about, being a little bit of, sheepish and saying, is this good, kind of post on Twitter, and sure enough, he heaves that ball downfield and ends up getting a touchdown and bringing this game a lot closer. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But the fact of the matter is he wasn't just not good in the first half. He was borderline irrelevant in the first half, and the defense absolutely erased him. A defense, I'll remind viewers, Huss, that secondary, while having a number of key figures in it, was a bit of the question marks here. Well, they lived up to expectations. Certainly, special teams, did their role. The offense was going. This was a complete victory, and it sends a clear message in my mind to the rest of the league that the Bombers aren't going anywhere, and that this team certainly is to be reckoned with as they go for a 6th straight Grey Cup appearance. This one, of course, being on home soil.
Let's well, first off, Brady Oliveira only carried twice, and that number of Streveler rushes, as we touched on the top of the show, seemed incredibly low. Period. But if I told you that Brady Oliveira was only going to be around for 2 carries, I think we would have thought that Streveler might be in the teens. It never happened because of Matthew Peterson. What do we know about Oliveira's injury, or what are you hearing right now, Jeff? And then maybe speak about the incredible debut of the guy that came in Brady's spot.
Yeah, and, typical, not much information post-game. Of course, I asked the question after the game. Mike O'Shea, answered it with one word, and that was saying no to my question about any updates on Brady. Again, I'm just typical lack of injury updates, not even frustrated. This is what it is. But from what I gather, I mean, we do know it's an upper body injury. From what I'm hearing, some early reports, and these things can change, right? Because what they feel like the next morning, while important information, can change throughout the week. I'll remind viewers again, AJ Ouellette, right? We thought he was done. He was back at practice, getting ready to go, and is expected to play this weekend here, right? So, I think with Brady, though, the early signs are, I don't want to, troublesome. Like, I'm not suggesting long-term out, but I don't think it's one of those, phew, he, it was a stinger and, he's all good to go, right? Teams are often quick to say, yeah, he's good to go. So I do think there is some significant concern here. But, time will tell and we'll figure that out. Obviously a lot more answers will come when the Bombers hit the practice field on Monday, and we see any of the lingering injuries, what kind of effect they'll have. But as far as Matthew Peterson goes, this is a guy who was a standout player at the University of Alberta, something that Mike O'Shea made a point of mentioning in his post-game comments, which is, to me, of course he is. Guess how many people are studs in Canadian University? A lot. That doesn't necessarily translate to success at the pro level, but this guy, in talking to him after the game and just getting a good idea of who he is and what he's about, he's a confident guy. He obviously was incredible in collegiate, like just racked up a ton of yards, was far and away, the biggest threat in the ground game in U Sports. So he was a guy who the Bombers had on their radar. He's a guy that the Bombers knew was talented, and obviously having a Canadian running back, they acquired him in that trade on draft day, right? Went over to Ted Gavaya, their buddy over in Hamilton, and scooped him up. So that looks like a real coup at this point. But he's like I said, he's a confident guy. He's a bit smaller than Brady, about 15 pounds lighter, but still loves running north-south. And as you saw on that 38-yard touchdown, Huss, he can cut on a dime too. Like, that's one of the things that I don't want to say Brady can't do. I don't think he can do as well. Like, Brady can obviously shake, and we've seen highlight reel touchdowns, but he's more of a bulldozer. This guy's got the potential, and I'm not, it's almost foolish to compare him to Brady Oliveira. I hope I'm not putting that kind of sentiment, but he does have that shiftiness, that fleet of foot, and you saw that again on that incredible touchdown he had.
Well, you know what? I listen, Josh, your colleague, Josh Freysound, came on with us like a week into training camp, and I kind of just threw out that, hey, the old, new guys, like who's kind of standing out, and he spoke so glowingly about Brady, about Matthew Peterson, to the point that he said, I think we see like the succession plan here at running back for the Bombers. We're kind of like, whoa, hold up a minute.
Yeah.
Then first game of the year, he looked pretty damn smart.
I can even double down on that, Huss. He sent me a text message when it happened, and he was like, I was kind of like, hey, man, like the backup to the backup of like the MOP is not really, whatever. And I kind of, I don't want to say dismissed it, but I kind of dismissed it. So I can back that up for sure. Josh has had his eye on him.
He gets a lot of credit. And I was thinking about Josh and what he said as we saw Peterson just tear up the Lions. I think Remis is going to grab that clip. We'll give him his due later on for it. Overall, though, I mean, let's get back to Streveler. A special night for him. He's just such a unique dude. I mean, there's a reason why he's so popular with fans, certainly popular with teammates. This was a performance that I think a lot of people didn't think maybe he had it in him. And I mean, he said the doubters, he doesn't listen to them at all. But to have the confidence of Jason Hogan in his first game, to let him air it out the way he did, and for him to come through with that sort of a performance, you just got to feel great for a guy that many people thought might not be playing this year after that gruesome injury that ended his 2024 season.
I'm glad you ended there, because that's where I'm going to start. Like, this guy tore up, his knee. Anyone who saw that play, like, it was a bad injury. It was an injury that almost made you feel sorry for him, because you thought, myself included, I mean, I wasn't saying this publicly, but I certainly thought that this guy's career was probably over. I mean, what role could he play coming off such a catastrophic knee injury? Like, I could see him coming back to Winnipeg. Like, it wasn't like I thought necessarily he was completely done, but again, would question the value even from the Bombers' perspective based on how they used Chris Streveler last year, right? He was a primarily a short yardage guy, and when he wasn't, going in for an injured Zach Collaros, like, he wasn't a guy that they asked to throw. And in fact, I could say this argument fairly confidently. Perhaps there was maybe one attempt, but I don't think so. When he got injured, was his first attempt that he had ever dropped back in one of those short yardage situations. And sure enough, he got injured. So anyways, roundabout way of saying what an incredible feat just to get onto the field for the start of training camp. And as he reminded us yesterday, he didn't miss a single camp event. He didn't, like, he was there all camp. He felt really good. People were talking about how well he was playing in camp. And of course, Huss, like, this guy's energy, his perspective in life is second to none. Like, this is a guy who when as I sit here and suggest that his value leading into this point was strictly, his ability to move the ball 1 or 2 yards when the Bombers needed it the most, he brings a heck of a lot more than that. He brings an incredible perspective. He's is Mr. Present, if I can give him that title, because he doesn't think too far ahead. He's the ultimate teammate. And to your point about just how special it was, this guy wasn't thinking ahead of, what it could mean if he did well. I asked him those questions. He was thinking about the moment. He had his partner and their child in the house to watch the game. So, I mean, you could tell he was fighting back some of that emotion. He admitted that it got to him. He admitted that, all of this, having, again, his partner and his daughter in the house for that game meant so much to him. And one of the things I'll say about him as well is, I think the Bombers posted it on their social medias, but I talked to a few players in the locker room afterwards. Like, his speech at the beginning of the game was the catalyst to their success. I mean, he ultimately looked them all in the face and said, I know firsthand what it's like to have it be your last play and to have your season taken away from you. So don't take these moments for granted. Don't think about the last play. Focus on the next, that, again, that it could be your last. And that resonated with everybody, given, Strevler's story and for him to follow it up in the fashion he did, running just twice, throwing for 3 touchdowns, just making plays when he needed them to, and doing it all without, a single complaint. I mean, what more can you say about Chris Streveler?
Well, and listen, I mean, hand up, I didn't think we would be talking about breakout receiving performances today on the show. Even though I thought the Bombers, would be able to win. I thought that kind of the plan would be a more low-scoring game. I mean, really controlling the football, which they did. But, I mean, this offense didn't miss a beat. Pretty wild for Jason Hogan to come in for his first game as the OC with a backup quarterback and put forth that sort of a game plan and have them execute the way that they did. And listen, I thought Dalton Schoen looked great considering, where he's coming back from with last year. Nick Dembski, reliable as always. But, man, breakout game for Carrick Wheatfall, who Mike O'Shea's talked a lot about those second-year guys. Mm-hmm. We saw second-year guys in the secondary come up big. And this Wheatfall has had one heck of a start to the season, Jeff. Yeah, and you know what? We've seen it from him. We've seen, like, he has a 100-yard game, already in his career. So we've seen the height. We've seen that this is the kind of guy that the Bombers have coveted in the same way they coveted Kenny Lawler, right? So they need that body type. They kept Dalton Schoen smaller. They got Stearns, Reggie White, like Junior. Like, those guys aren't big dudes necessarily. Like, obviously, you have, a guy like Carrick Wheatfall who knows the system, who is more comfortable in the system. And then, of course, it comes down to making plays. And we saw that from the big man yesterday. So, yeah, absolute kudos. Huss, this is an absolute crime so far. I don't know how long we've been talking right now, but it's an absolute crime that we haven't said a single thing about the play of this O-line. Because this O-line is the reason why Chris Streveler was able to throw for, over 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's the play of the O-line that made Jason Hogan look like an absolute star in his first game as an OC up against his mentor in Buck Pierce. There's the reason why Matthew Peterson rushed for 23 carries for 130 yards, and it is the play of the O-line that looked in absolute mid-season form. And while the narrative, and justifiably heading into this season, was about the play of the D-line and how the attitude or identity, if you will, was starting to shift in that direction, the O-line certainly made a statement last night to say, whoa, we're still here, and we're ready to open holes for anybody in any way. I mean, listen, I'll even double down on that. More often than not, you look at a football game and you see one team win and one team doesn't, and you're probably going to be able to very quickly tell you who had the advantage on the line of scrimmage. And you're 100% right about the job that those guys did in creating rushing lanes, blocking for Strevler, give him time. And on the other side of it, and again, there wasn't huge sack totals, but Nathan Rourke never looked comfortable for even a play last night. And the Bomber defensive line, I thought, had a huge impact on that game by rushing him, forcing him out of the pocket, never giving him the time to truly get set in the pocket and let her rip. And listen, it all starts on the line of scrimmage, and big wins for the Bomber O-line and D-line last night. And to your point, that is where it all started last night for Winnipeg in their season opening victory.
Well, and to your point earlier about how, or even just now, about Nathan Rourke not being comfortable and kind of, the sack numbers not being high, but the pressure was certainly high. And you actually have to give Nathan Rourke a ton of credit for his ability on a particular play where Willie Jefferson had him wrapped up. And, I thought to myself, and this is my naiveness of not being that size and not playing that game, but not knowing how unfair it might appear, right? That Nathan Rourke threw the ball to the ground like that. And so it just seemed like even with a Bomber player in front of a Lions player, right, that frustrating moment of being in that vicinity. And so I managed to run into Doug Brown, a close friend of mine, at halftime. And I said, Doug, what is it like to get through, to have your arms wrapped on a quarterback and be, close to a sack? And it just appears like he just throws the ball to the ground. And that's when he gave me a nice lesson saying, look, I get what you're saying. And yeah, I guess it's a tad bit frustrating, but the ability for a quarterback to stay upright and to be able to do that with a guy like Willie Jefferson draped all over him is a testament to his core strength, not to his ability to kind of flout the rules, right? So I thought that was interesting.
Hey, this is just from Farhan in the last half hour. Farhan's tweeting out, hearing that Brady Oliveira could miss multiple games with a shoulder injury, still further evaluation required. That would have been, it's concerning from the get-go. You want your guys able to get out there and play. But with the performance of Matthew Peterson, I think people would probably feel a little bit better about where things are at. Now, Remis has this clip. We've given Josh his due on this, but there are probably some people going, I missed that. This is from May 22nd on WST.
Oh, you're bringing up the actual Josh. I thought you were giving Peterson his due.
We will in a minute, but this was, listen, this is a great clip. This is what we've been talking about from the 22nd of May, early on in camp. Josh Frey-Sam from the Free.
And also, a really good side note in all of this, Brady Oliveira would be shocked if he plays. Peyton Logan is hurt, as I mentioned, so he's not going to play. That leaves a boatload of reps for rookie Matthew Peterson, who the Bombers traded for on draft day. And he looks like he could be, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but he looks like Brady's a free agent at the end of this season. If the Bombers and Brady can't get something figured out, based on what I've seen in camp, I would be kind of comfortable with Matthew Peterson taking over and being the guy going forward. Powerful lower body and kind of runs a lot like Brady, very north-south runner, but is actually a little bit more fleet of foot. He's 15 pounds lighter than him. Really impressive camp he's put together, and O'Shea kind of just gushed about him a little bit again in today's presser. And so Matthew Peterson is a name that if fans want a skill position guy to keep an eye on, I would absolutely keep an eye on him because he's going to get a ton of opportunity, and he probably will lock himself into that third running back spot out of camp.
So Josh doing a little Swami business there, looking into the future. And incredibly, after that great win, O'Shea had said it himself, Hammer, pro football, maybe more than anything, your opportunity comes often due to injury. And, with this report from Farhan, I think what is expected that Brady is going to miss some games. What an opportunity for this young man. He made the most of it in game number 1, and it seems like he's probably going to be getting a lot of touches, be a big part of this offense for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so just to revisit my comments earlier, that's kind of what you know what I was kind of getting at as far as concerning, right? Nothing crazy, but also not a guy that was going to be necessarily at practice on Monday, and that obviously follows into that report. And no reason not to trust Farhan. Now, the thing I'll add to it, Huss, and not to take the, you know, necessarily the wind out of Peterson's sails, but I don't know if that is the plan, to hand him the reins, because they don't have a backup to him, right? They have Chris Ike as the fullback. He would be the Canadian backup to it. So you got to take into consideration ratio. Also, you need to take into consideration with ratio is that this is if there's any weakness to the Bombers this year, if there was a focus on an area that maybe isn't as stable as previous years, it is their ratio. As we know, they lost a couple. Canadian starters last year, and you know, guys like Tyrell Ford, Liam Dobson, and they played an American on the O-line this past game, right? So it would take something. You know, to have Peterson maybe be the starter. Like, again, I'm led to believe it's currently being debated right now, but Quentin Cooley might be getting his opportunity. Like a guy who really showed out in training camp, currently on the practice roster in American, that would be another option. So right now, in the event that Brady can't go, I don't know if it's an automatic turn to Matthew Peterson, despite obviously his incredible level of play. Quentin Cooley would also be very much in that conversation.
Yeah, it'll make practice that much more interesting this week. I mean, we know when Brady's back, that bulldozer is going to be in the Bomber backfield. But, you know, for a rookie to come in and have that sort of a game when the team needed it so badly early on to perform that way, he certainly did himself no disservice with his performance last night, and I'd imagine he'll be very much in the mix. Hey, listen, before we go, Ken's going to jump on with us, and we're going to get into some Jets and some hockey talk. Just thoughts on Connor Hellebuyck winning the Hart Trophy, most valuable player in the National Hockey League. First time a Jet has ever even been a finalist for this, never mind won the entire award.
Yeah, a lot of cool firsts, right, for Winnipeg, and you know, in this season, something to maybe, you know, another feather in their cap, right? I mean, the idea of having a player earn the Hart Trophy, obviously, an incredible accomplishment for Connor Hellebuyck individually, but also a testament to the team. You know, like you got to be, I don't know if you got to be certain way to have a Hart Trophy candidate, but certainly the skill that Hellebuyck has portrayed over years, you know, you might even be able to make the argument that it's overdue. And you know, I think a lot of credit is deserving to him as well, that they were able to convince the voters, right? We've heard in the past, there's some people kind of like you see in football, favors certain positions. And a lot, you know, I've talked to a handful of people who are voters in the NHL over the years who just don't believe that a goalie should win the Hart Trophy. So, you know, there is that, I guess, perceived bias. But when you look at the finalists, Huss, I mean, to me, it seems kind of obvious. And I will say this too, just kind of understanding voter tendency, if you will. It was certainly an asset that he was voted on prior to the playoffs, because I don't know if that would have affected things. I mean, but just in general, anyways. Like, obviously,
if they did it after the playoffs, it would be one of the teams from the team that wins.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why they don't. And is why it's a regular season award. And as I said, absolutely well deserving for Connor Hellebuyck, who continues to pile up these awards, this hardware, and is going to be in Winnipeg, right? He's the city's, the province's golden boy in a lot of ways, and he's been a great ambassador for the city and the province. He's committed to the city and the province. So to see him pick up this kind of hardware, it's beyond deserving, and congratulations to him.
Hey, just before we go, and I'll pop in and we'll do the cool bet lines at the end of the program, but since we did CFL 110 earlier this week, there has been some crazy line movement right now. Alouettes, which were even money on the money line when we did the program, are now minus 250 and 5-point favorites. And
no Drew Brown.
No Drew Brown, exactly. And we very quickly got on that when before the line move, which was nice. And the Calgary-Toronto game is basically a pick 'em now as well.
Yeah, I mean, It's honestly like, yeah, maybe the odds people saw last night's game and went into a full-on panic and started to look at the money and needed to create their, figure out their algorithm or their analytics and create a new line here, because I mean, that line looked pretty bogus off the start. I think they looked at the 7-1 record for the Red Blacks last year at home and probably boosted that a little bit, thinking that would have a role in it. But Montreal is just too good and showed that in the first week. But at the same time, BC looked really good in the first week, and they didn't look good yesterday. So lots of things can happen. I often say week 1's a crapshoot for the CFL. So is week 2. It usually takes a few weeks for these teams to figure it out, and in some ways separate themselves to who are the good teams, who are the not so good teams. But I'll end it on this note. We talked about this at great length. The parity in the CFL is certainly greater at this point than any time I've covered this league. So don't be surprised if results are flip-flopping all over the place every week. It seems impossible to pick a winner. And that's why, for those gamblers out there, CFL games have more personality than any other professional sport out there. So if you need to get the personality of each game, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, put your wallet back in your pocket and save your money and go bet on something you know more about, because they take on lives of themselves, different halves, different things. There's just a lot of themes in the CFL, and they're all chaotic. So protect your money there, and maybe just follow your heart. And sometimes, because it probably will let you down a lot less than trying to actually prove using statistics.
Well, I'm looking forward to this one tonight, Alouettes and Red Blacks, and then tomorrow the doubleheader, Stamps, Argos, and Rough Riders, Ticats. Hammer, great stuff. Thanks for doing this. Have an awesome weekend. We'll talk to you next week for CFL 110.
You too. Super Friday. Enjoy Kenny. What a pleasure for the viewers out there. You guys have a great one.
Well hydrated, locked, loaded, ready to go. We'll quickly hear Connor Hellebuyck's speech as well, as we talk about a pretty incredible milestone for the Winnipeg Jets netminder. The weekend is here. Royal Sports ready to go for Bomber season with some great new Bomber gear, many exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. And of course, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some merchandise commemorating a third Vezina Trophy and a Hart Trophy as well for one Connor Hellebuyck down at Royal Sports, in addition to the best spot for merchandise for all the local teams and the top teams around sport. Summer's here. Bikes, e-bikes, soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running. Huge Yeti section for you campers out there, all waiting for you at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merch drops and sale information. Tomorrow night, Game 5 of the Cup Final. We'll get to that with Ken as well. Boston Pizza's the place to be tomorrow night, folks. A Stanley Cup Final on the big screen, full sound, and the BP playoff menu waiting for you, including that new triple pep pizza, the Wingman pizza, and of course, wing flights are back with the Scoville Showdown and the Canadian Maple All-Star Poutine. Highly recommended as well. If you are staying at home and not getting out, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to talk Connor Hellebuyck, the Hart Trophy winner for this season, with Ken Wiebe coming up next. Let's first give a big shout out and a cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
Day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we've talked a lot of Bombers after the big win at sold-out Princess Auto Stadium last night, but prior to the game, we found out one of the worst-kept secrets around, that Connor Hellebuyck not only was winning a third Vezina Trophy, but was the Hart Trophy winner, the first ever Jet to be the NHL's MVP. Here's what Hellebuyck had to say as we bring in Ken Wiebe.
Hey, there's a lot of people I need to thank for this amazing opportunity. First off, I want to thank my wife, Andrea, and the kids. Your support is so important to this process and earning anything. I'd like to thank my parents. They've been there every step of the way, getting me to where I am. I'd like to thank my teammates and my coaches for your dedication. Couldn't be there without you guys and all the hard work you guys put in all year. I'd like to thank the organization, Chipper and Chevy, for making all this possible and believing in me. And I'd like to thank the Winnipeg fans. You guys are incredible. You had my back the entire way, and I look forward to the future with you guys. Thanks.
Right, there it is. The 24-25 Hart Trophy winner, Connor Hellebuyck. Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press joins us now. It finally happened, Ken. And this is, listen, it's huge for the organization, massive for Hellebuyck. But in some ways, there's only one team that's winning the Stanley Cup, and obviously the Jets aren't that team this year. But it does put an exclamation point on a very special and magical season for Winnipeg, led by their MVP, Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, afternoon, Huss. Great to be with you as always, and happy to declare finally, after all the suspense, that I did vote Connor Hellebuyck number 1 on my Hart Trophy ballot. Sorry to keep you in suspense.
What was the ballot? What was the ballot?
So my ballot was Hellebuyck, Draisaitl. I had Eichel third. I know that some folks think that's a bit too high. But if you look a little bit deeper here, Huss, it's similar to when Taylor Hall won the MVP over McKinnon. The drop-off offensively from Jack Eichel was 94 to 67, I believe, or 69 for Mark Stone. The offensive production dip after that is so severe, and Eichel is one of the top, 5, 6 to 10 two-way players in the NHL. So I had him third, Nikita Kucherov fourth, and Nathan McKinnon fifth. So lots of deserving candidates in that list. And, quite frankly, you could have shuffled that around and came up with, 5 really good choices. But at the end of the day, I mulled over a lot of the information, Huss, and I understand some people are going to say, oh, you're a homer, but I mean, at the same time, you don't want to be an anti-homer either. So when you're looking at all the information, I just think that Hellebuyck did something that has been done so few times in NHL history in terms of, boxcar numbers and underlying numbers. Huss, I mean, goals saved is a new stat and still under, working the formula. But to me, his goals saved above expected was, exceptional, led the league in shutouts, wins. I get it. That's a team award, but, when your goals against is at 2, you give your team a chance to win on most nights. Huss, as you know, not great at mathematics, but when your goals against is 2, generally you're giving your team an incredible chance to win. And again, I get it. Anthony, he didn't get the quadruple crown because Stolarz is 926, so it's 0.001 difference
in 33 games.
Yeah, 19 fewer starts. So to me, that is as close to the quadruple crown as a goalie is going to get. And I understand. I mean, I'm not ignoring the fact that, some folks, including Clearsight Analytics, said that Hellebuck's, environment in front of him was the best in the NHL. Sure. But you still got to make the saves no matter what environment you have. So, I applaud all 5 guys on that list that I had. You could make a case for all of them. But at the same time, I think that Connor Hellebuyck was the most valuable player to his team. I get it. Its beauty is in the eye of the beholder type of award. But the fact, I've watched Connor Hellebuyck, since he broke into the NHL and have spoken to him since he was drafted in the 5th round in 2012. I've seen the growth of the player, and I thought he was very deserving of that award. And I know you played the clips there, Huss. I was fortunate enough to speak with Connor also, and had a great chat with him about his season itself, his ability to process what happened in the playoffs, things he's going to try to build on. And just, Connor can be very serious when it comes to interviews, but he kind of let the guard down in this situation when I spoke with him. And, he often says numbers aren't everything, but, he admitted that at, halfway through the season, he and Eric Comrie looked at each other and you're like, holy smokes, like this is pretty special stuff that's happening, both in terms of the team success and the numbers he was putting up. So I thought he was very insightful, for the folks who were, read the article already. Thanks for reading. And if you haven't, check it out. I mean, he was great. And Eric Comrie too, Huss, we know that Comrie was the biggest advocate. You've mentioned it often on your program. I don't know that there was an interview that Eric Comrie did in his starts in the second half of the season where he did not mention Hellebuyck and Hart Trophy in the same interview, even though most people were asking him about his own play. And that was also something that Connor Hellebuyck appreciated. We know the great job that Wade Flaherty did with that goaltending tandem this year. But at the end of the day, Connor Hellebuyck had an exceptional season. Huss, we always wonder when it's, small town Winnipeg market, how are the voters going to vote? And he won by a significant margin. And, that's also a testament to the individual success, but also the team success. And that's something that Connor also pointed out in my interview with him. I mean, he was very quick to applaud his teammates. And ultimately, as he has said countless times since the second Vezina, the one that matters to him is the silver trophy that he wants to get his name engraved on. And that is his, sole focus going into this offseason.
You mentioned the team, and I'll listen. I'm with you. I mean, it was a long shot for a goalie to win.
Yeah,
it's a long shot for a player in Winnipeg. I mean, as opposed to some of the other markets. I mean, that you can't deny that. And what was special about this, and I think you could kind of feel that too in the pride that the players had when they were congratulating him in the piece that came out,
right,
is that this doesn't happen without everyone performing at the level that they did this year. Like, if Hellebuyck puts these numbers together, but the Jets finished third in the Central Division, I don't think this is happening. But he was the best player on the best team in the National Hockey League through 82 games. And it's obviously a huge credit to him for being the guy that won the award. But I'm sure you'll agree, Ken, that Eric Comrie, every member of that defense corps, the team playing, Scott Arneal, the coaching staff, everybody had a piece of this. And I know it is an individual award, but in a lot of ways, it's somewhat of a coronation for Hellebuyck as one of the best of this generation at the position, but also a Winnipeg Jet team that consistently from game 1 to 82 was right there with the best teams in the National Hockey League.
For sure, Hassan, and that's one of the biggest takeaways. I mean, I think that Connor said it after the exit interviews, but he said it again when I spoke with him. The Jets learned what it takes to win. Now, that didn't translate into 16 playoff wins. Huss, it only translated into 6, so there is still a bit of a gap to bridge there when it comes to the next step for both Hellebuyck and the organization and their ultimate goal. But you need to take those steps before you're able to climb to the top of that mountain. So to me, Hellebuyck himself, he was very open about the playoff, challenges and, riding the emotional roller coaster that he touched on after the St. Louis game. But he also talked about, the drive, the inner drive that he has and how, not getting those 10 additional wins is fueling him in this off season. And that will be fueling him and his teammates. And, he talked about the learning lessons. And, hey, I get it. Most people want the learning lessons to have happened 5 years ago, Huss, right? Or even further, 7 years ago, going back to 2018. But the path is not linear when it comes to either development or learning how to win, as we're finding out daily with both the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers. But I think that both, as you mentioned, the team, the buy-in that is required, along with the emotional toll that the Jets as an organization went through, in dealing with the death of Mark's father, Brad, late in that series with Dallas. And, all of the steps taken throughout the course of the year since training camp started, and quite frankly, since the Game 5 loss to the Colorado Avalanche, that cumulative effect is what is going to push the Jets baseline as they prepare, for next season, as they try to push themselves forward. And that's the beauty of Hellebuyck. He said to me again, you may be the best goalie in the world today, but go out and make sure you're doing the things required to be the best goalie tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after that. And Huss, I know he doesn't care about personal accolades as much as team success, but, we saw how driven he was after getting bounced by the Colorado Avalanche. I don't think anyone in your chat room or who follows the National Hockey League would be the least bit surprised if Connor Hellebuyck pulls a Dominic Hasek, Huss, and becomes only the second goalie in the history of the game to win 2 Hart trophies as a goaltender. He's one of 8 right now. Hasek, the only 2-time winner. That would not surprise me in the least, and I doubt it would surprise you at all. And hey, we'll hear all about usage and, all of those things. But Connor Hellebuyck is going to be a workhorse. There might be a slightly reduced workload. I could see it being in 58 or 57 to 59, whatever. If it's 60, we'll see. But with the Olympics around the horizon and us, what we also know is that Hellebuyck, I think, is back to being the clear-cut number one guy when it comes to Team USA. Now, he's going to have to show it throughout the course of all the games that are played leading up to February. But I think that's going to be something that serves as some motivation this year as well for him personally. But the ultimate thing for Hellebuyck, and he reiterated that on numerous occasions in our conversation, is that his sole goal is to win the Stanley Cup. Huss, that doesn't mean he's not going to put together the type of season that could lead to Hasek-like territory.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun conversation to have. And listen, even I think a little bit more special to the organization and to the fan base, knowing that this is a guy that is really committed to be essentially a Jet for life. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck has 5 more seasons on the extension that he signed, Ken. And, he's already etched himself in Winnipeg Jet history. And there's plenty more opportunities to continue to add to this. And hopefully, for all parties involved, get the one trophy that has not been in his grasp so far. And that, of course, is the ultimate prize in the game that the Panthers and the Oilers are playing for right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, too, there's certain things you can learn and certain things that maybe don't apply, to the team that we follow on a regular basis here. But I think it's important to reiterate here. There was a time when there were these same question marks attached to Sergei Bobrovsky. Can you win the big one? Right? I mean, this is something it's
even more so. He lost his job.
Yes, Hassan, and this is what I'm talking about.
Worst contract in the league. Remember that conversation?
Yes, this is what I mean. So for all of the folks, and we understand the passion that pays the bills. For every single person who says, "Well, Hellebuyck's 32. If he hasn't figured it out by now, he'll never figure it out." I mean, let's take a look at recent history. When the Florida Panthers were playing for their lives, Alex Lyon was between the pipes. Now, yes, I get it. That year they lost in the Cup Final. He got his job back. Hey, the Boston Bruins don't want to talk about it. But Sergei Bobrovsky is now considered one of the best money goalies, if not the best money goalie in the NHL. And he's older than Connor Hellebuyck. So, again, it's not a guarantee. But based on watching his career to this point and listening to his words, in terms of the drive that continues to push him, I would be hesitant to bet against him. But again, that it's up to Connor to show it. What we all know, is that he will be putting in the work required to show it, and he will continue to study the game at a feverish level. And I think that, there was a lot of self-reflection that happened for Connor. And I think that will help him grow even further, and it will continue to fuel that burning desire to be the best goalie in the world. And quite frankly, we know his goal is to be the best goalie of all time. And it's tough to get to that point if you don't get your name etched on that other silver trophy. So motivation will not be a factor whatsoever because he never lacks motivation. But hey, the other part of the discussion, well, how are those contracts going to age? Well, I think most people are pretty fair to say that year 1 of 7 aged pretty well for Connor Hellebuyck and the Winnipeg Jets. Now, that means there's still 6 years on that contract, but I don't see a precipitous decline. I see Hellebuyck still having an ability to push his ceiling, and that's part of what's made him so good during these last few seasons. So that's just, again, that's what I see. It's about him to show it, but that's sort of how I see where things are at. And, I think that getting this type of acknowledgement is something that will fuel him even further, to be honest.
This sort of catches me off guard, but he's actually already had 2 years of the contract. There's 5 more left.
No.
25, 26, 6, 7.
No, it was signed that year, but it only kicked in this year.
Well, I'm pulling it up right now. It says he's an unrestricted free agent after the 29-30 season.
I don't know, Huss. Time hasn't stood still for that long for us, has it? I think this was year one.
Either that, then Puckpedia is wrong. But we can figure it out because yes, it was an extension.
Puckpedia's already erased the first year.
Puckpedia doesn't have the 30-31 season there.
Should be on there.
They're only showing the next 5 seasons. They're not showing.
Yeah, I mean, because I was doing the math and thinking about the date of coming back from the Chiefs Viking game and recording that video in the produce department
Thanksgiving
of Target.
miracle, Huss. The Thanksgiving miracle. There you go.
Exactly. Hey, speaking of miracles, dude, how amazing is this Cup final? And I mean, what can you say about the way the Oilers battled back last night? We talk about goaltending and being voodoo.
Man.
Skinner gets pulled. Pickard comes in. They come back. They blow the lead. They win in overtime. Like, I'm happy that the Oilers won that game last night just because we're for sure getting 2, and hopefully we get 3 more games of a legendary final series.
Huss, it's just tremendous stuff. And hey, NHL getting lots of love for having Taylor Swift and your boy Kelsey in the building also. And did you see his reaction to the tying goal by Sam Reinhart, right? So anyways, you did not have Wiebe dropping a Swiftie reference on your Friday bingo card, I know, Huss, but yeah, what a game. And it just bonkers, right? I mean, and here's the crazy thing. Skinner didn't deserve to be pulled, right? This is the ultimate try to get your team to rally, not Stuart Skinner wasn't going well in how he was playing in the first period. He's the reason it wasn't 5-0 at the time, Huss, instead of 3, and within striking distance. So I love everything about this series. I love the way the game is being played. I love the coaching. I love the strategy. I love the physical nature. I think there still is a little bit too much of a parade to the penalty box, but I also understand Oilers fans want 8 more fouls called on the Panthers. So it's hard to find a perfect balance in that regard. But you are seeing some of the best players in the entire league absolutely laying it all on the line at both ends of the ice. You're getting the full Evan Bouchard experience, Huss. You're getting the screening your own goalie on 5-on-3. You're getting the, human Zamboni element on the tying goal, but you're also getting incredible puck movement, offensive production, minute munching, all of the things, which is beautiful to watch. We know that, there hadn't been really much of a impact made by Matthew Tkachuk or Alexander Barkov or Sam Reinhart, frankly, going into game 3. Into game 4. All of those guys were here, there, and everywhere for their team in that one. But ultimately, Leon Draisaitl, the German assassin, getting the job done. I thought it was again, Vasily Podkolzin, Huss. There is a very simple yet subtle play that is made on the quick up by the Oilers. Yes, we know the puck is banked in, and yes, you want to call it a fluke. Go ahead, because it was lucky, sure. But look at the replay, Huss, and for the folks in the chat, look at Seth Jones. Seth Jones looks at the bench for a split second to sort of try to see what is happening on the other side of the ice. At that point, the puck is quick up to Podkolzin, who one touches it across to Draisaitl, and by the time that play is made, Seth Jones is left in the dust at the blue line. And hey, Luosterainen comes in and gets there on the back check anyway, but there's just little subtle plays that are being made all over the ice. And Huss, we talk about belief and buy-in and all of those things. If you don't have buy-in and you don't have 2 of the best players in the NHL, you don't come back from 3-0 in a Stanley Cup final that could put you behind 3-1, right? So everybody talking about bridging the gap and finding those 10 next wins. This is a great display, not only for hockey fans, for folks who are just casual fans, but for teams trying to win. This is where things are at in terms of ability to battle back. And Huss, Florida's one of the best teams at shutting down games where they have the lead. They've now lost 2 games in this series where they've had the lead. So it's impressive to see what the Oilers are doing. And having said all that, the Panthers are not the least bit panicking at 2-2. They'll be happy to go for this best of 3. The only difference being they don't have home ice like they did last year. So I'm with you. Bring on all 3 games, keep beating each other's brains in and mixing in that blend of skill and sacrifice as you move along, because this series has been tremendous. I love the cat and mouse between the coaches. Obviously 2 different styles in terms of, we know that Paul Maurice loves the stage. Chris Knobloch just basically likes to, I think he's a super thoughtful guy, but he's not in it to be a quote machine. At the same time, I love his approach. We talk about, coaches and information and whatever else. Here's who's in, here's who's out, here's who's doing what. You bring your best, we'll bring our best. We'll see who is ultimately victorious. And us, 3 overtime games out of 4 so far, 1 blowout. Love to see it. Keep it coming. And I understand there is a segment of the population that can't wait for the season to end. I say play on is what I say to that. Give me 7, and I'd love to be in the building for 7.
Quick turnaround for everyone that was bet because of the 2 days off between games. A quick turnaround. We've got Game 5 tomorrow, and then we'll be 2 days before Game 6 on Tuesday. And if we hopefully get that Game 7, it'll be the following Friday, the 20th of June. And as I said, it's been so good. Hey, quickly, Conn Smythe. I had said, when we were doing lock shop stuff beforehand, I'm like, listen, if you're betting the Oilers at like -120, you may as well just bet McDavid to win the Conn Smythe at even money, because it's hard to imagine the Oilers winning the cup and him not getting it.
I say, hang on a second here. I think I know where you're going. And
it's Leon Draisaitl now.
Leon's 4 overtime winners would like you to hold his beer
in the
briefly.
Cup final now. I think it's a credit to McDavid that the odds are still somewhat close, but I don't know how Leon Draisaitl on the Oilers side of things isn't the clear-cut favorite. And obviously with Sam Bennett and what he's done so far in the playoffs, he's a pretty heavy favorite on the Panthers side if they do win.
Yeah, for sure. And again, if the Panthers get those next 2 wins, Sergei Bobrovsky's still going to be in the thick of that conversation too, Huss. But and again, this is nothing against McDavid. McDavid still had an exceptional playoff, and he's factoring in on a lot of things that are happening, and probably will still need to do so. But I'm with you. I think Leon is sort of he's certainly nudged ahead for me, even though he's still chasing in points, but. Just quickly on the way out, Calvin Pickard, come on, Huss. 7-0 in the playoffs. This is an exceptional story. This is the ultimate battler. I love the fact that I was able to talk to Calvin before the season, or before the final last year. This is a guy who, he's been kicked around. He's been moved or played in a lot of organizations, never lost his love for the sport. And he's still continuing to get the job done when it matters most to us. And it's almost impossible to see a scenario where he's not in there for the next game. And Huss, if the Oilers are going to get to 16, Pickard's already got 7 of those wins. So there's no guarantee he gets to 8, but it's hard to envision a scenario where he doesn't if they win. And that to me is also just a testament to his perseverance. This is an incredibly hardworking person, comes from a goalie factory. Forever people thought that his brother was the better goalie. 2 great guys who had great careers, but this is a guy who had to, battle in the American Hockey League to get back to the NHL. And then when he got the chance, absolutely said, there is no way you are sending me back ever again. And by the way, if you need me in the biggest games of the year, just give me a tap on the right shoulder here. I'm good to go. So anyways, some great localizing.
Do we see Stuart Skinner again in the Stanley Cup Final?
It's certainly possible. Like I said, Huss, I wouldn't have pulled him if I were Knobloch. I thought he played really good. The save he made on Bennett, though a bit unorthodox in the first, was incredible. He made a couple of wild saves in the period, but man, a couple of the save, we hear Kelly Rudy talk about battling. The save off the arm off Bennett that hits the crossbar, That's top notch. But the save that is sneakier good is the one on Luosterainen off the shoulder blade, because that's somewhere where you can't get your glove up in time. He gave her the old shoulder shrug, knocked it over the net. Pickard's just been tremendous. And again, incredible human being. And yes, we know there's lots of connections to Winnipeg, the city, the province, on the Panther side, and us. Nate Schmidt, what an incredible series he is having. He just deserves a little bit of props on the way out here. And man, doing a great job on the power play, eating up third pairing minutes. And again, someone who just loves the game. So it just brings such a verve and exuberance to the rink. He's playing some of the best hockey of his career at a time when some folks thought he was done. So just wanted to get that in before we leave. And impressive win by the blue and gold. Huss, I know you would have been in the building there, and what an effort by Peterson. I gotta say this quickly too. I got a couple things to get off my chest before you get to Hacksaw here. My mother-in-law, I asked her what she thought of the first preseason game, and she's like, "Man, that running back is awesome," and there he was shining away. Anyways, quickly on that, and then lastly, Huss. Had a great chat with new UND assistant coach and general manager Bryn Chiswick yesterday. That story will run in the Free Press on Saturday. Verdon's own Huss, good Manitoba product. Spent the last 5 years with the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL. Just a tremendous story of how he transitioned. Won a national championship with UND in 2016. Spent 1 year of playing pro hockey. And then has moved on into the player evaluation world, and had a great chat with him. So just got to preview that quickly in the Free there for Saturday. And thanks for having me.
Hey,
fun time of year.
Before you go, just a quick temperature check on Taves to the Jets.
Okay. What I would say is that, like I said, last time we talked, I thought it was Jets sort of, I wouldn't say middle of the pack, but more closer to the middle than the front of the pack. I would say right now, front of the pack. Yes. Now, does that mean it's a guarantee? No. If it were a guarantee, it will have already happened.
How soon do you think that decision's going to be made?
I just think that, and again, I don't know this as fact, but I know that there has been interest from Edmonton previously, Huss. So to me, I think that I'm not saying that he would rather go to Edmonton than Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg is the favored destination. I do think that depending on what happens to the Oilers in the next couple of games, their interest level could be even higher if the Oilers lose out again to the Panthers in the Cup Final. So I think that he'll wait until the Cup Final is over. And quite frankly, Huss, I don't know that necessarily goes to July 1, but I think there's a few other teams that are interested that you might want to know where things stand after the draft before you make the decision if you're Taves. Now, if he's sold on Winnipeg and it is 100% there, and again, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just thinking that this is probably not something that this is necessarily decided on until the final is over, and it may be until draft weekend. But I would say that Jets fans would be encouraged by some of the reporting that has come out. It's consistent with what I've been hearing. I do think there's obviously there's huge interest on the Jets side, and there is significant interest on the Taves side. Again, and I don't think this is a huge dollars and cents thing. I just think it's about evaluating fit and sort of seeing where things are at. But I think that I still think it's most likely that Taves ends up with the Jets, but not quite ready to put it in the lead pipe lock situation right now, Huss. That's sort of where I'm at with it. And quickly, as you're transitioning to NFL, I had a chance to go to the Y dinner, and man, were Chris Carter and John Randall ever exceptional in the hot stove with Jesse Pollock. So last show, it was a fun and busy week in Manitoba land here, Huss. And I really enjoyed the folks of the Purple sharing some of their insights. And what a great night. They did a great job as usual, honoring all those athletes, and just a great night overall.
Did they get more than 10 grand for the dream date with Ken Wiebe at the silent auction?
I was not one of the candidates. I got a late night. We'll save that one for down the road, perhaps. But I would also bet the under on that one, Andrew.
Have a great weekend, dude. Thanks for
you
this.
Too. Cheers, my man.
Head on over to the Free Press. Ken's latest on Hellebuyck reeling in the Hart and Vezina honors. Nice little fishing reference there by the headline writer. It's up at the Free Press right now. All right, we're going to catch up with Hacksaw in a minute. They're slugging it out at Oakmont right now. We'll do our Breezy Bend Golf Report after Hacksaw goes, and keep your eyes on the chat. We'll fire up registration for marbles in 5-7 minutes or so. Don't forget, gang, Gold Eyes back next week for a 6-game homestand beginning on Tuesday. We've still got just a couple tickets left. So if you don't have them already to join us for the WST patio party at the ballpark on Thursday, go to the website right now, winnipegsportstalk.com, and grab the last couple of tickets and join us on Thursday for what should be a great night with an awesome crew of Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners and, of course, chatters here with us. So we hope to see you there. 982 base, goldeyes.com for more information on Gold Eyes ticketing, upcoming promos, and more. And, of course, we're back at it next week at Assiniboia Downs. Live racing continues throughout the year. And if you are thinking about heading out there on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, we will have more Mondays as well as the season continues. May I suggest you get a reservation in that beautiful dining room and jump in to that prime rib buffet that to take your racing night to the next level. But of course, it's free admission, free parking, asdowns.com for more information on that. All right, let's welcome in our pal, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. You know the site, leehacksawhamilton.com. Make sure to check out the podcast and YouTube show and give a sub. Saw, what's going on? How much have you been enjoying this Stanley Cup Final? I can't remember a better one in a long, long time.
Hustler, TV at night here in the States is great. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we watch the NBA. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we watch the NHL. It's been spectacular. We're going, I think we're going to wind up with a best-of-7 series. That's what I projected all along. Edmonton climbing out of the crater hole they were in to come back and take that lead last night was just absolutely phenomenal. And it's just amazing the mood swings in the game. Here's Florida just playing big boy hockey, heavy hockey, just stymieing everything that McDavid and Draisaitl were trying to do. They disappeared, and it's a 3-0 deficit. And then all of a sudden, you get Edmonton starting to play the body. They get Florida on their back heels. It's like the ice opens up, and now McDavid and Draisaitl and all these guys are just mountain speed going into the zone and starting to pepper shots on Bobrovsky. It was a phenomenal series. And then, of course, we've had a bunch of heartbreaks here, as you know, during these playoff series. His last-second goals can either make or break you emotionally. And then to have Florida tie the doggone thing with 20 seconds to go after Edmonton had dominated second period, third period, that I thought, oh, that's going to be a crusher for the Oilers. You know, the Oilers come back, and Draisaitl hit one from the parking lot at the bad angle. This series has just been spectacular. This sucker takes this thing to a best-of-7.
Hey, just while we're on hockey, how about our guy Connor Hellebuyck winning not only his third Vezina Trophy, but the Hart as the MVP?
Yeah, but we'd had this dialogue as far back as January. Why not? Who else are you going to give it to? Spectacular season. Sadly, postseason didn't go as deep as you probably hoped it would up there in Winnipeg. But, hey, he earned it all. And he's really accomplished it. He's always been good, but this was a higher level of proficiency, I think, than I've seen. And I follow goaltenders a great deal. So I was very pleased for him as a person, very pleased for him as a player. And obviously, you know, he's taken Winnipeg along with Connor and a couple of these other guys and just put them on their back. And it's become a really interesting small market franchise. Because wasn't a year and a half ago, you and I were talking about attendance of 13,000 and whether small market Canada could afford to stay in a big money game in the NHL. Look where the Jets are now.
Lee, let's get to the NFL notebook. And took a while, but we finally got some clarity that Aaron Rodgers is in fact coming back, and he is coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they traded Pickens. They've acquired DK Metcalf. But with Rodgers there now, it does seem like maybe another veteran might be showing up in the Steel City to bolster the receiving core for Aaron Rodgers in what could be his final year in the league.
Well, his decision took a long time, and I kind of got tired of the whole drama thing. Love me not, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, that was the best offer. Might have been realistically the only offer. He had to park his ego on the side. He's not going to get paid $25 to $30 million as an established starter any longer. But if he has an Aaron Rodgers season, he could probably crack $19 million, which is a pretty good payday on a one-year contract. And if he does that, it might well take him to a second year. In all honesty, let's believe it, at his age, he's probably a bridge quarterback to whoever the next quarterback's going to be in Pittsburgh, whether that's the Ohio State rookie Will Howard a year from now or 2 years from now. But I'll tell you what, he's surrounded by a really improving young offensive line. Offensive line has been rebuilt in a 2-year span with a lot of high draft picks. Historically, they do pound the football. They got DK Metcalf. They have a loaded tight ends. And this might be the best defense he's ever had on the other side of the football since his days in Green Bay. So I think it's win-win. I'm stunned. Talk show radio and the columnists in Pittsburgh don't think this is a good acquisition. Hustler, just go back in your archives and tell me over the last 5 years, any of the guys that were starting quarterbacks post-Ben Roethlisberger, you wouldn't take Aaron Rodgers over any of those guys? Come on now. So I think it's a good situation. He said his personal interviews, he had 3 Zoom calls, I guess you'd call it, with Mike Tomlin, really sold him on the culture of Steeler football, sold him on Tomlin's accomplishments and his approach with veteran players and simultaneously the development of young players. I think it's win-win, and I think he's surrounded by better people. I think he'll be better statistically, and they're not going to expose him and ask him to throw the damn thing 50 times per game. So I think it's win-win despite all the screaming of the people in Pittsburgh holding Iron City beers in their hand.
Hacksaw, what else is popping on the pages of your NFL notebook right now as we finish up OTAs and look ahead to training camp?
Well, there's a lot of storylines as it relates to different people in different places. Off the top of my head, Kansas City's got a little bit of concern about the number 1 draft pick, Josh Simmons. He's not ready. He did not take part in OTAs. He's done strictly stuff on sidelines with trainers. Training camp's not all that far away, and Andy Reid, for the first time, indicated might not be ready for the start of training camp because of the patella tendon surgery that he had. So that's the storyline in Kansas City. Denver, I think, stole a good running back. They signed the Chargers' leading running back, J.K. Dobbins. Now, he's got a history of productivity. He's explosive. He's powerful. He also has a history of injuries, but they got him at a very reasonable price. $2.5 million to be part of a rotation at running back with incentives that could push him to $5 million if he has a 1,000-yard season. And he almost had a 1,000-yard season last year on a Charger team that just did not run the football very well. And the Raiders, the fans are going crazy. They always go crazy in the offseason. But for the first time, there's some legitimacy to what they're accomplishing there with the arrival of Pete Carroll and the new general manager, John Spytek. And now they're into this mode of, okay, we're going to start bringing in some rental veterans that we think can play in our system for 1 year. And that means they're going to be hungry and they're going to prove themselves. They just signed Cincinnati's 6-year starting inside linebacker, which I think is a really good acquisition. They're about, I think, to re-sign Shaq Griffin, quarterback who played for Carroll in Seattle and played pretty well, made a mistake by leaving as a free agent, and now he's back on the street. So I think they're going to be much better. They got Geno Smith. Obviously, they love Austin Gentry. They got 2 tight ends. Chip Kelly's coming in as a madman as an offensive coordinator. So I think just watching those guys is probably going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, everybody's wrapping up OTAs this weekend. They take a short vacation, and everybody comes back in mid-July, and we're getting ready for NFL training camps.
Hey, I got to ask you about the situation in Cincinnati, and we shouldn't maybe be surprised with the Bengals, but I mean, like, they don't have their first-round pick signed, and sometimes that happens, but I mean, we're hearing that veterans are telling this young guy, you're doing the right thing. This happens all the time. Trey Hendrickson's out right now. He wants a new contract. They've got so much talent, but they just seem to create unnecessary problems that most other teams in the league don't deal with.
Mike Brown runs the franchise. He was given the franchise by his late father, the legendary Hall of Famer Paul Brown. This is a mean thing to say. If Paul Brown could climb out of the grave, he'd walk to Cincinnati and fire Mike Brown. This thing has been so mismanaged for such an extended period of time. They nickel and dime everybody. They get into fierce contract disputes. And Joe Burrow, a year ago this summer, went public and said, you better pay Jamar Chase. You better pay the other wide receiver. They're both deserving of contracts. They've outplayed their contracts. And this is your star quarterback who'd already been paid. And I said all along, if Mike Brown does not take care of Jamar Chase and the other receiver, if he doesn't start doing business differently, we're going to wake up one morning and Joe Burrow is going to put his hands in the air and say, trade me. I don't want to be here anymore. So now this week, after helping Jamar Chase and those guys get their deals, he stands up and sounds off again, and he says this locker room is supporting Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson's got 30 quarterback sacks in the last 2 years, grossly underpaid, final year of his deal. And it was insulted by the Bengals vice president, Katie Blackburn, said, you ought to be happy with the contract you have. The guy outplayed, and he's one of the best pass rushers in the league, and he's grossly underpaid. And now the number one draft pick, Shamar Sherman, exact same thing. They're trying to change the language in his contract. And Sherman said, I'm not practicing. And there was an incident Thursday, Hustler. He's on the sidelines. He's gone to all the classroom work. He's on the sidelines, and they wouldn't give him any water on the sidelines because it belongs to the players on the field practicing. How chintzy is that? So he lost his mind. And in the locker room on Thursday, he said, I am leaving. And he left on Friday, walked out and says, I'm not coming back until you give me what every other first-round draft pick gets, which is the guaranteed structure and the bonuses. And his closing comment to the media was, the Bengals always want to win the argument. Why don't you try to win some games? Ouch. That's a rookie. And Hustler, the NFL rules, if he doesn't sign, if he sits this year, he can go back in the draft next year. So, I mean, the Bengals' mode of operation, beyond me, is it's Neanderthal. It's wrong. It's not a good place to play. And trust me, you and I are going to be talking about this one day sometime in the foreseeable near future. Mike Brown doesn't change things. Joe Burrow's going to put his hand up and say, I'm done with you. I want out. You're going to trade me. So you're correct in your assessment. It is kind of a hot-button story that we're going to be paying attention to.
No doubt about it. Hacksaw, what's cooking at the site this weekend? We got the Cup Final. We've got NBA Finals. Lots of baseball going on. What's keeping your attention? What do you have waiting for people when they hit LeeHacksawHamilton.com?
Well, I write about it every day. So regardless of what your favorite sport is, aside from the religion of the NHL, it's always there on my website, so check it out. I do the podcasts Monday and Thursday. They're always up on the YouTube channel, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. You didn't mention golf. The U.S. Open. The Cathedral of Golf Courses, built in 1903. It's not a golf course. It's an obstacle course. If you had the chance to interview the superstar on golf right now, Scotty Scheffler, he'd be mumbling not the king's best English because the golf course is eating him alive, just like it's eating Rory McIlroy alive. They make this thing so hard, 5.5-inch roughs, 6-foot pot bunkers that they call a penal colony, really tight fairways. I mean, watch it on TV, and just you can't believe the magnitude of the challenge. One of the golfers on the practice green Thursday morning, just before he was going to the first tee, turned to the media that was standing there and said, "Gentlemen, let the suffering begin." So, U.S. Open, it is a phenomenal tournament. We love the mystique and the uniqueness and the toughness that the British Open is in England and Scotland and Ireland. Tell you what, this one at Oakmont in the 1903 course, the Cathedral, phenomenal stuff. And I know you're going to update it, so I bet there's a bunch of strange people at the top of the leaderboard, and you look way down that leaderboard, you'll find some marquee names that are probably not using the king's best English, talking about what happened to them yesterday and today.
I have no idea who this Tristan Lawrence guy is. He's a South African. He was 3 under yesterday, and he has birdied 3 of the first 4 holes right now. He's at 6 under par. JJ Spawn's there, but everyone else feeling the pain of Oakmont. So have a great weekend. Thanks for doing this.
Glad to be with you on Beer Friday. Have a great sports week on Hustler. We'll talk to you next Friday.
There he is, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. The site is LeeHacksawHamilton.com. And give him a follow on X as well at Hacksaw1090. All right, Marbles registration is open. Fire it in there, folks. ! Marbles in the chat if you haven't already. We'll give you a couple more minutes to do that. Now let's get to the U.S. Open, our golf report brought to you by our friends at Breezy Bend. Find out more information on the waiting list for Breezy Bend and becoming a member at breezybend.ca today. Here is your leaderboard right now. As I mentioned, Tristan Lawrence now 6 under par. 3 under for his round through 4 holes today. Truly incredible. But as we all know, that can change very quickly at Oakmont with what these guys are going to be dealing with. JJ Spawn is 1 over. He was the leader yesterday at 4 under. So he's tied. But Sam Burns, the big mover today, 5 under 65. He's in the clubhouse comfortably, waiting to see what happens to everybody else. He is in 3rd place at 3 under. Ben Griffin he was 2. He's now actually bogeyed, so he's fall back. So we've got a group at 1 under, including Victor Hovland, who is in the clubhouse, Ben Griffin, Thomas Detry, and Sam Stevens, who are 1 under par. Other than that, it's 1 over and beyond. Here's some of the notables. Robert McIntyre, Siwoo Kim, Adam Scott at 1 over. Brooks Koepka, Russell Henley, Xander Schauffele, Keegan Bradley amongst the group at 2. The 3 overs include Jason Day. Day had a great round. He was 3 under today. Tyrrell Hatton as well. Emmanuel Grillo. Harris English, Phil Mickelson. 4 over includes Canadian Nick Taylor. He was 1 over today. John Rahm was 5 over today. He's at 4 over. Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, Daniel Berger, Aaron Rai. Now looking to see about the Canadians. Mac Hughes, 5 over. He will play the weekend. Taylor Pendrith's 5 over. He's still got to play the back 9. Ludwig Oberg's at 5 over right now. I need him to make the cut. Wyndham Clark. Corey Connors is in at 6. He'll be playing the weekend. Tony Finau's in at 6. Bryson DeChambeau 6 over right now. Hideki Matsuyama as well. And right now the projected cut line is 7 over par. So still a lot of work to do for everyone out there. U.S. Open's going to be a fun weekend. All of our golf reports brought to you by our friends over at Breezy Bend. All right, let's get Remis back in here. We'll give you a last call for marbles. I'm going to get to the cool bet lines. But Remo, excited chat. A lot of people fired up after the big Bomber win last night. A fun conversation with Ken on the big Connor Hellebuyck Hart and Vezina wins last night. And big news, by the way, with the Seabears. I was just reading the Upper Deck open for the game on the weekend as the Seabears continue to have some great support and now have a bit of momentum coming into the game with a couple wins.
Yeah, 2-game win streak coming in after, what were they, 1 and 5? I think it wasn't going so hot. They got the reinforcements in Simi Chateau and Jalen Harris, and they got the 2 wins. And I think they're making this Father's Day thing like a yearly game and open up the Upper Deck. Awesome to see. Hopefully they can deliver a win for everyone in attendance. And they announced some halftime performers. I mean, we talk about Grey Cup here. It's CEBL Championship weekend. They announced yesterday Chaos is halftime. And let's feel like this, the Lytics halftime for the Western Conference Final in the Seabears. And the other one is Boogie the Beat, the Eastern Conference Final. So it's championship summer here with the Grey Cup. You saw all the the ads at the stadium. I love the new Grey Cup logo. The festival logo, I'm starting to get fired up for. It's still 5 months away, but I couldn't help but notice all the signage at the stadium. I'm waiting for that Grey Cup merch because we were at the Grey Cup last year. I was like, well, I'll wait. If I'm going to spend that on a hat, I'd rather get the one that's
the
here.
Winnipeg one.
The Winnipeg one.
Well, you did wear the Grey Cup hat yesterday from Hamilton.
Yeah.
Which was a nice little. You should maybe wear those on game days. That's the ultimate goal.
I should wear this Grey Cup hat more. I wore a Bomber hat yesterday, but yeah, sure, Grey Cup hat. Why not?
Hey, what a start. And just being out there at the park last night, so much fun. Great to see everyone. Speaking of which, we should give a shout out to two regulars. Who gets more TV time on the big screen at Princess Auto Stadium than Tyson Ducharme and Wayne Gretzky?
Well, Wayne Gretzky's got that giant hat, so they always show him. And I'm on like our Discord server where a lot of people in our chat in their chat during the live stream, they're chatting, when we're not live, and everyone's saying, "Hey, I just saw Tyson and Wayne Gretzky on the Jumbotron." I got to bring up the picture, but he's got the big hat, so I'm going with Wayne Gretzky. Oh, here's check this picture out. This is like the who's who of our chat. Look at this. Tyson, Wayne Gretzky, Spency, Scott Westman, and Ishaboy Bruce in the back there. Look at these guys.
Wow, man. That is what it's all about. The boys were representing big time in the end zone last night. Awesome game. Beautiful weather. Great way to kick off a weekend.
And I'll say one thing we didn't mention, the Trews at halftime. I couldn't hear him that great on the sides of the concourse, but when I went to the back, it was awesome. And I knew like every song. I thought they were great. It was great.
They were great. Some big hits. They went from their little tent. They went down into that area in front. Listen, it was a hell of a way to start off the season. The wait was worth it after the week 1 bye. Bombers get the big win. And, of course, the Oilers winning last night as well. I see Derek Schmidt, great pick. The Trews were great. Trews were good. Hey, you know what? Let's do the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And listen, I know a lot of people were sort of wait and see about where this team would be. What's your reaction to the performance the Winnipeg Blue Bombers put forth last night, trouncing BC by 14? Without Zach Caleros and without Brady Oliveira for the majority of the game. Let us know in the chat for the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. I see Schnitzy in the chat as well. I was in a loge on the west side. And speaking of pictures, I should have sent this to you. Zach is like the king of Kensington in his section. And there were many cases where everyone would be sitting down and he'd be up, he'd turn around, holding court with multiple fans, having a great time. And listen, everyone at the game last night, I think, left with a pretty big smile on their face after what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were able to do. Let's get into some chat here. We'll do fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First. Your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Of course, another sellout last night. Game sold out. Go to Fans First. No fees. No added fees. So when you go to Fans First, what you see is what you pay. And great customer service on the sales side as well. And you'll get paid the next business day after the game. The fan feedback, Matt Hyman, cautiously optimistic. Andy Johnson, a spanking. And did like the Trews, said more bands. Spency, I was too busy with Ishaboy Bruce in the trees to see the Trews. Tango, I come for the Bombers talk and stay for the marbles. Great stuff. And Schickster said second best way to kick off the weekend, Huss. Number 1 is in 10 minutes. So right on. Let's see here. We've also got Dan Jets fan, Trews. Better than Snoop Dogg. Not popular take, I admit. And Derek Schmidt just simply went 18-0. Jeff Bowes, very impressed Bombers and the new Bombers. And Craig Smith. What's up, Craig? Total team effort. Great stuff. Keep your thoughts coming in on the performance of the Bombers last night in the chat, in fan feedback. Brought to you by Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. All right, Remo, if you want to grab the names for the marble race, you can get on that, and I will jump over for the cool bet lines. And, we've seen some crazy line movement in these games in the Canadian Football League. And, a big part of it is Drew Brown not playing for Ottawa tonight. Chad Kelly's not going to go for the Argos tomorrow. But originally, the Alouettes were a slight underdog. They're now 5-point favorites in this game tonight. And money line of -250, which is another reason to join us on CFL 110 on Tuesdays, because early in the week, we can get on some pretty good lines. We're sitting with a beautiful number on Montreal for tonight, as well as Calgary at +140 to win. This is now basically a pick'em. Argos 1-point favorites, -115 for Toronto, -105 for Calgary. And the late game on Saturday is the Rough Riders and Ticats. Hamilton a +150 home dog, 3.5-point underdogs at home. As far as the Stanley Cup Final goes, if you wanted to get the Oilers, you should have done it before Game 4. They were +210 to win the series. Series price now, Oilers -112, Florida -102. Very close to a pick'em. And the Oilers favored in tomorrow's Game 5, -118 on the money line. Panthers +101. The Conn Smythe Trophy odds. This is what's interesting to me. Sam Bennett's +150. Essentially, he's probably the clear-cut choice for Florida if they win. But for the first time since the playoffs began, I think, Connor McDavid's no longer the favorite to win the award for Edmonton. That, of course, is last night's overtime hero, Leon Draisaitl. Now 2 OT winners in the series, I believe 4 in the playoffs. Draisaitl's +225 to win the award. McDavid +255. Really a 2-horse race for Edmonton, and a 1-horse race pretty much for the Florida Panthers in Sam Bennett. And I would say this, if you think the Panthers are going to win the series, you're probably better off betting Sam Bennett to win the Conn Smythe at +150 than Florida at -102. Just a thought to get there. NBA Finals goes, they're back at it tonight, actually, in Indy. Pacers up 2-1, 6-point home dogs and +180 on the money line. And they're still underdogs in the series, now down to +171. And OKC -213. And there is also live betting all weekend long on the U.S. Open. Tell you that right now, Sam Burns is the favorite to win the tournament at +465. Victor Hovland's at +650. JJ Spawn +750. And still Scotty Scheffler, 10-1. If you think he can have a big run tomorrow, Ben Griffin 11-1. Lawrence 16, Brooks Koepka 22, Siwoo Kim, John Rahm, and Xander Schauffele all 30-1. Busy weekend at Coolbet. Head on over there. If you haven't used the promo code WST, put that in on your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200. And again, shout out to all you cool bettors that rode with me. The accounts are looking nice today after we cashed those Connor Hellebuyck Hart Trophy tickets that we've been waiting for since November. Special shout out to Mark Amp. Mark, I've got a lot of people that were sending me tickets. Hey, we got it, blah, blah, blah. Mark bet preseason 150-1 on Connor Hellebuyck. So that is our wager of the day. Incredible work, Mark. Congratulations to you, to Hellebuyck, and all Hellebuyck supporters for the Helly for Heart that finally came to fruition tomorrow. Good stuff at Coolbet. And don't forget CFL 110 next Tuesday. And we'll dive into the line, see how our picks are. But 1-0 so far. Yeah, Bombers is a home dog. Are you kidding me? Auto bet. Beautiful last night. All right, Remo. It is about that time, I believe. It's Friday afternoon. You know what that means.
Yeah, I was going to pull the Marboys. Here, one thing before I bring it up. A lot of people were asking us to comment on this yesterday. I said we would get to it. We never did. Atlanta, what got approved to build a $3 billion arena complex. So, I mean, we'll wait and see if they get expansion. Elliott says they're ahead of Houston now. I don't know what else we can say. I'm curious what they name the team. Like, I don't think they're going back to Thrashers. Too much bad vibes based on that. I do wonder what it means for the Jets holding the Thrashers history, though, if they reclaim that or not. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All that rich Thrashers history. Yes, of course.
Yeah, all the rich Thrashers. So I think they're going to start fresh, like Utah. Utah did. But I don't know. It seems like they're on their way to expansion, and well, it's just a slow burn here. I don't know what I don't know what more we can add. They have an arena. Like, will people actually go to the games there?
Listen, I think I talked about this with Iwanek today a little bit on the Lock Shop. I mean, let me know when it's happening, and I'll pay attention. We've heard enough of this stuff beforehand. But listen, a massive investment like that with the rink. I mean, this is a huge, huge metropolis. I mean, places like Atlanta, Houston, and yes, Phoenix, without the ownership mess that they had in the past, with a rink in the right spot, I mean, can absolutely work. They want to get into those markets. Like, I'm worried about what it does to the game, just though. I mean, at 32 teams, how much talent is there? What's this going to do to sort of the? Listen, it's great for the players. I mean, plenty more jobs. I do want the quality of play to be up there, and sometimes it does take a bit of a step back when you add that many teams. But we could be looking at a 36-team league in a few years. So, the owners in the NHL is not going to want to turn away price tags for franchises that start with a B, as in billions. So we'll stay in on that. But I thought you were going to bring up the 5-pound burrito from the game last night.
Oh, man, I was sitting in the section with the 5-pound burrito, and they announced during the game it was only for the opener. I didn't know that. I was like, oh, we'll get it another game. It'll be fun. It was only for last night, so
they've done a bunch of things. Like they did the yard dog, although they kept the yard dog for a while.
That's still there. I saw the poster for it.
The Wiebe burger?
Is that there? I didn't see anything, but I'm assuming it's still there.
I haven't seen, but yes, that was a special. But did anyone get one? I know, Schnitzy, you were talking about it. If anybody did get the 5-pound burrito, we would like some photographic evidence, and you can tell us how you're doing today after trying to tackle it.
Hey, and one other thing, actually, just on the Jets. We spent all this time on Connor Hellebuyck, winning the Vezina and the Hart, but shout out to Kyle Connor, named first team NHL All-Star left wing. Connor Hellebuyck, first team NHL All-Star goalie, but for Kyle Connor, named top left wing, that's pretty cool. So shout out to KC.
No, absolutely. And to think about that, your first team All-Stars, 2 of the 6 players are Winnipeg Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, you would love to still be playing right now, but an incredible year by so many individuals. But overall, it was really the success of the team, I think, that helped many of these accolades come to individuals on the club. All right, it's Marbles time, everybody. Let's fire it up. We got Tristan Rivers music to get us ready for the race, and then Michael Remis, the maestro of the marbles, will fill us in on how many marbles we have and where we are playing. Tristan Rivers music, let's hit it. All right, Marbles time on WST on a Friday afternoon. I see David Conan. What's up, Cone Dog? He said, anyone know where Big Smoke Barbecue is within Blue Cross Park? It was on the left field line over by the Mini Donuts and the Pierogies. Big Smoke is not back this year, but barbecue is. It's Famous Dave's this year. The Big Smoke, I guess, is out in Steinbach, and I think they had some challenges just with the distance of staffing everything. So Famous Dave's is there. I haven't had it yet this year. There's a huge lineup at the home opener for it. We may have to dive into that on Thursday for our game. And again, there's a link, couple tickets left. If you don't have your seats already, for the WST patio party Thursday at the ballpark. Jump on them now before they are gone. All right, Remo, how many marbles? Where are we going today?
Yeah, 218, and I was loading them, right after I forget, for a while. So it's been closed for a bit, and people keep typing. So some people might be upset if they're not in, but I don't know. We had it open for like 20 minutes. You got to get here. You can't be popping in at 3:10 and
we try to get
and
that
type
thing
exclamation marbles. We say it's 3:45, so get in right away. I looked at this track. It was pretty good. Epic marble goal. And
okay, throw me in, please, and then we should add Hellebuyck for the Hart Trophy and KFC for the first team All-Star.
Okay, did you want to give one to former marble winner Chris Streer?
Yeah, and you know what? Why don't we give one to Matthew Peterson too?
Sure.
Strevy is a former winner. And yeah, but Duck Dad, bonus marble for Mark A's heli ticket. Big time. Such a great bet. 150-1.
Yeah, sorry. Let me load this on. Maybe I closed it a bit earlier, but oh well. 222 marbles. And you
right.
want one for yourself, right?
Yeah, please.
223 marbles in the marble race. What's the date today? June. Oh, it's my brother's birthday today. So shout out to my brother. There you go.
Yes, and Mike, noted bike valet guy, Michael Remis now after last night's game.
Well,
shout out to the bike valet though. It is amazing. Like sometimes I'll just hang out there beforehand and watch the operation. Like there are so many people that bike to the games. It is really impressive what they're able to do. I know you had a near miss and you freaked out for a moment thinking that your bike was in the wrong spot.
You heard about that or what? Or are they writing in the chat?
Yeah, you told me before the show.
Yeah, well, I went with my wife and they put two different people took our bikes and they put my bike in a different location and they couldn't find it. It was my first time at the bike valley. Like all these bikes there, like not locked up. Like it's Winnipeg. I don't know. I freaking out and
security, buddy. Security. They do a great job.
It was a great job. I handed my ticket in and they got me my bike. They took them a bit longer than I thought it would be. They found it. I biked home. Didn't even have to drive on the street. Just rode a path all the way, that transit path. I think that's the only way to bike to the game. I could be the guy who bikes to the game and, when it's snowing out now. Probably not, but...
Get those fat tires.
Yeah.
I use the transit. Again, if you haven't used the rapid transit, it is the no-brainer of no-brainers when you're going to the games, especially with the traffic issues right now. Do a park and ride, jump on at Osborne Station, jump on downtown, straight shot, beat all the traffic. Great stuff. All right, let's do this. And then we're going to see what's happening at the U.S. Open. Watch the carnage on the back nine this afternoon. I cannot wait.
Yeah, what am I going to do? I'm counting out of this Alouettes Red Blacks game tonight. I'm super fired up for that as we had the crazy line movement.
Yeah, we're looking good. We're looking good on that one as long as Montreal wins this game.
And here we do have to shout out Tristan Rivers, who did the theme song for the Marble Race. Big show tonight. I know a bunch of listeners and viewers are going. Red River X. He's in got an AC/DC cover band and a Guns N' Roses cover band. So,
really?
Yes, Tristan Rivers. He's Slash in the Guns N' Roses.
I haven't been to the X in forever, but that actually sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Going out, watching Tristan's GNR and what is it? GNR and AC/DC cover bands.
Yes.
Crushing corn dogs, mini donuts.
Yes.
I do love carnival food. There's no doubt about that. All right. Well, good luck. Send us some pics in the Discord for all of you that go out to see Tristan tonight. All right. Let's do this race.
Yeah, you want to watch the golf. Hey, I'm here. I could screw around for I don't know how long. Nothing's better than
a long time. I know.
Nothing's better than when it's 3:20 and people are like, "Get to the Marble Race," and I'm like, "Just a second, I gotta talk about the best freezy flavor." Anyway, as it is summer, but
hey, by the way, Mike wins in chat. What's up, Mike? Your lovely wife, Beverly, killed it. Great anthem last night. Really set the tone for a great night for the rest of the way. Win family, The first family of Winnipeg sports right there. Shout out to them. All right, let's do this. What's the course called?
Epic Marble Goal.
Ooh, I like this.
Oh, the author of this track, his username is Kevin and Earth.
Kevin and Earth. I like it.
Yes.
Good name.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, new track, Kevin and Earth. Shout out to all the track creators out in the marble spaces. Dylan 70 is still the man, but let's see if Kevin and Earth can have a contender to one of his great tracks.
Yes, I'm just double checking that I have today's entries in 223. I don't want to have like last week.
No.
List. I've done that.
Do it again.
I've done that. So, anyways, I'll shut up. People want we've played the theme song. Oh, I got to bring you in here.
We are ready to go.
And then I'll take myself out.
Lots of freezy talk in the chat.
Well, I said I joked about talking about the best. It's summer, so I was out and I saw a freezy deal. I bought a box, brought them to my son's soccer game, handed them out to the kids, and I kept the rest for myself. And I just pounded two. I pounded two before the show.
White freezy. Bridget, what's this about Red River X and Tristan? We literally just said he's playing tonight.
Oh, did you say that?
Event.
Who said that? You did?
Yeah, Bridget was just asking. Well, we were just talking about it for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But yes, tonight's the night. If you're going to the X, check out the stage and get a load of the AC/DC and the GNR bands. All right, here we are. Kevin and Earth, the epic marble goal. Good luck to everybody. Shout out to Donnie Boy, last week's winner. Who will it be today? Let's find out. We drop the marbles and officially start the weekend right now on WST. All right, nice ramp start. And then, woo, big drop into a funnel. Jay Robertson and Shane Fetty seemingly. Oh, Jay Robertson. Bye-bye. Joel Lavoie, Scott Westman, MC Stormy looking good. Oh, Scott Westman, MC Stormy, as I mentioned, top roped. But Joel Lavoie has the lead right now. AJ, Les R, Rob Letty seemingly in the mix. But yes, Joel right now, our leader, with a little bit of a gap over the rest of the crowd. We'll see whether there's anything that's going to stop her. Pat B is in second right now, and Les R chasing and going after Joel Lavoie.
That Pat Brisson? Jonathan Taves' agent?
Oh, Les R, Waiters, Dave McLean. We've had some movement. Now Les is getting shot fourth. Here goes Waiters. Drew Music's in the mix. Darth Skater. There's Presley. Ryan Fox, who won the RBC Canadian Open last week. But Les R. This is an interesting track here. I guess it is just on one run, I think. But there's a number of marbles that are getting popped out right now. And now we've got a funnel. Who's going to get down first? This is now, it's really tightened up. Les R with the lead. Drew Music in second. Dave McLean right there. Peanuts, I believe. Oh, Dave McLean just got whopped. And now Seabreeze is in first place. Look at these lovely hearts. Very nice little motif by Kevin and Earth. But Seabreeze right now. Dan Jets fan in the mix. Jeff Doran. Everybody chasing Seabreeze though right now. Who else is up here? Local Pappy. Oh, Seabreeze is about to get caught. No. He's got the lead. Ryan Fox trying to make up some ground. Seabreeze slows up a little bit, but still has that lead. I like these, like the steep angles of some of these. All right, now we're starting to break a few obstacles. It's going to be tight on both sides. Dan Jetfan's there. Seabreeze is there. Jeff Dorian and Ryan Fox all in the mix. All right, here we go. We're coming right up to the finish. Is it going to be Jeff Dorian? It is. Big push at the end. Jeff Dorian comes from behind to take today's marble race. Ryan Fox in second. Seabreeze in third. Amy Wiebe fourth. Chemdry fifth. Drew Music sixth. Lee R in seventh. Kevin Berg. Hockey Mom. What's up, Hockey Mom? Nice work today. And B. Henderson, our top 10. We'll let, oh, there I am at the top, not doing very well today. I just saw my marble for the first time, and there I go in. We've got the last few. There's Paul Carr, boring Sean Monahan, and they're going to get burnt. Nope, Paul, they got it in there. All right, Jeff Dorian. Great win. Nicely done. Send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let me know what size you are. I'll hit you up and you can pop by. I'm going to be away on the weekend, but you can pick it up next week. We went through the top 10. Schickster, 11th. Nicely done. Spency 5 Centsy in 12th. Who else we got? Spills, top 20. Eric W. Chuds Power Sports. What's up to the Chuds, guys? There's Rat River Rebel, Trevor Foss, Cigars for Everyone. Craig Smith, nicely done, Craig. Craig's ready for a big CFL weekend. Jerry Beluda, Kyle Connor, KFC, 34th, nicely done. There's Duck Dad, there's Mark Amf. Mark was 47th today. Not too worried about it after cashing his 150-1 Heli for Hart bet. There's Mike Wynn, T. Will. What's up, T. Will? Brady, NHL Chunky. What's going on? Amanda, 3-time champion. Was talking about it last night after the game again. Marbles tomorrow. Will there be the greater dynasty? Kibbins, Wayne Gretzky, Roscoe, Pat Rathwell. Speaking of Pat, we're going to have Pat on. We're firing up. Already filled one bus for the Labor Day trip with the 1930 crew. Check that out on Instagram right now. As I say, we'll have someone come on and we'll talk about it maybe in the next week or so. There's Connor Hellebuyck, and yes, boring Sean Monahan. But we're doing it up again. It was such a fun trip last year. Myself, Schnitzy was there. Bombing came out. Ooh, EST got bounced. Did not make it. So anyways, check that out. We had such a great time. Would love to have you join us. But there is limited availability on that second bus right now. So jump on that. Good stuff. Remo, what's up for the weekend? You have any big Father's Day plans? Or are you just going to tell your family it's my day, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want? Or are the plans made for you?
I think we got a kid's birthday party. We got my daughter's end of year celebration for her daycare. So we got that. Next family coming over for lunch. Busy day. Busy weekends. Very busy. A lot of kids' activities. I'm excited though. It's summer.
Yeah, it sounds pretty much like my weekend too.
Yeah, what?
A couple birthday parties, maybe the zoo. No, actually, I'm gonna go out tonight, leaving early in the morning, heading out to the lake, gonna play Clear Lake tomorrow, watch the US Open, enjoy maybe a couple of those CC coolers on the golf course. Hot tub, barbecue, we're going to live the good life for a couple days. But I'm very happy that we had a show today. I'm glad that game last night was on Thursday because it was such a great game, so much to talk about. It would have really sucked to have to wait till Monday to get after it. So I know Connor will be having some fun on WST Sunday Live on Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Make sure to tune in for that. Turn your notifications on so you know they're up. And Connor's a huge Bomber guy, so we'll touch on Bombers. But that, of course, will be the day after Game 5 of the Cup Final. So we'll have some great stuff for you on Sunday, and then we're back to kick off another week on Monday right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks to Hacksaw. Thanks to Ken and Jeff, Ken Wiebe, Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press for jumping on today. Congratulations again to all you Hellebuyck bettors over at CoolBet. What a great way to start off the weekend. And I mean, heck, what a game last night. Stravler, Peterson, top to bottom. Just a great way to start the season off for the Bombers at Princess Auto Stadium. Thanks again to all the sponsors that make WST happen every day. Hope you all have a great weekend. Any WSTers at the X tonight for the Tristan show, throw some pics in the Discord or send them to us on social media. And otherwise, gang, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday, 1 p.m. live on YouTube right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.